Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid. And my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us. When are you going to pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason this guy's on the radio. So I called him.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer in compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
Happy New Year, Susan. I really appreciate you picking up the bill for lunch.
I'm happy to. One of my New Year's resolutions is being better with money. So I've started using Upside, the free app that pays you cash back for buying gas.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I earn cash back just for buying the gas I was already buying.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make $200 to $300 this year.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now in the App Store or Google Play and start earning cash back on everyday gas purchases. Use promo code RIDER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's up to 50 cents per gallon on your next fill up. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code RIDER for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code RIDER. Code RIDER. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions.
Did you know bad bacteria causes cavities and tooth decay? Did you know bad bacteria feed off residue left by sugary foods and drinks? Keep your family healthy. Your smile matters.
Be sure to brush 2 times daily for at least 2 minutes with fluoride toothpaste.
Floss once a day and limit sugary foods and drinks like sweetened juices, candies, and sodas.
Even sugar-free carbonated drinks can be harmful to teeth. Be sure to visit your dentist for regular checkups and cleanings. If you don't have a dentist, visit YourSmileUtah.org for more information on community dental services. This message is brought to you by Utah Oral Health Coalition, Utah Dental Association, University of Utah School of Dentistry, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and other Utah health partners. Remember, a healthy smile means a healthier life. Learn more at YourSmileUtah.org.
Because your smile matters.
Traffic and weather together on KSL News Radio, and here's Jason Jones.
Amanda, the only trouble spots that we have are on side streets rather than on I-15 itself. I-15 is running smoothly from Payson all the way up to Ogden, both north and southbound. Really no delays in place there. But 2100 north in Lehigh, getting over to I-15 is still fairly congested at this point. It's been that way, and it's kind of typical around now. But the atypical, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for. Atypical delays are happening over on Wasatch Boulevard. Southbound and northbound, both trying to get into Big Cottonwood Canyon. That's that fresh powder up there that everybody's dying to go ski, and so it's going to take you some extra time to get into Big Cottonwood Canyon this morning. It's heavy delays in both directions, and traction restrictions in the canyon, also traction restrictions in Little Cottonwood Canyon as well. Cars for Kids reminds you time is running out to donate your car for 2025. Call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS now to secure your 2025 tax deduction and vacation voucher. That's CARS with a K. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
We might see some more snow off and on today, but it shouldn't be too bad. It should taper off tonight and be done by tomorrow. Expect some cold winds with highs in the 30s today. Right now it's 34 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Inside Sources. I'm Greg Skordas alongside Holly Richardson. Holly, last night around 7:30, I'm on my computer and we're starting to see some blips coming in about a shooting on Redwood Road, about 6 North. As it turns out, it was at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house. The first report that I had received indicated that 5 people were dead. It made it sound like it was an attack on
The church.
the church house itself. As it turns out, it probably wasn't. It's neither here nor there in terms of the fact that people were killed. And there weren't 5 people killed, although there are 2 dead, 3 in critical condition, 3 others that were taken to the hospital by friends or neighbors that we don't necessarily know their exact condition. It's an ongoing investigation. Neighbors in the area were able to speak with KSL TV's Garna Mejia last night about what they witnessed.
We were just, like I said, watching TV earlier, and I had noticed the sounds of what would be fireworks, but it's all past the holiday season. So easy to think, this neighborhood, this area, anything could happen. It could be gunshots. So I immediately got up, opened the door, heard screaming. That's when I took everything that I had and came running over here.
Yeah, and then how many gunshots did you guys hear?
I heard before that, I think it was around like 4 or 5, and then we turned on our camera, and then I heard maybe 3 more, and then we were like, hey, that's gunshots, that's not the fireworks, and then opening the door, hearing the screaming and crying and the wailing confirmed.
Yeah, from what I heard and from everything that's been talked about here, I've totaled it up to around 15 shots that went off.
So just a lot, and in very quick order. It sounds like you heard the first couple, and then it was very quick soon after you heard it.
It was like boom, 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 boom. I mean, it was fast. Someone said it was like ricocheting off the metal fence. I mean, and it was. They said it was in the back. I mean, it was wild. So it's scary to hear for sure.
And you guys, you also mentioned that there was a car that you heard maybe leaving very, very quickly soon after those gunshots.
Yeah, so there's a tenant, and they said that they heard the gunshots, and they live just right here at the bottom. And so they said right after the gunshots, they were looking around, and they didn't see, but they heard a car just kind of rev and fly out of here. They said they don't know where it went, they didn't see it, but they definitely heard it right after the shots. I mean, they said it was enough time for them to stop and get in a car and go.
This was apparently in the parking lot of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house, and going on inside at the time or immediately prior to this was some sort of funeral or viewing for an individual. There was a huge group of, it looked like Pacific Islanders there, and there was also some discussion at one point that this may have been a hate crime. Right now, and we're going to learn a lot more in about an hour, because Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd has indicated that he's going to have a press conference at 10 a.m. Right now, we don't know a lot about it, but it seems to have not been targeted toward a religion.
That it was some kind of a fight that broke out in the parking lot.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I listened to the press briefing last night about 11, and at that point they didn't have any suspect or suspects in custody. But this is what we learned from Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd last night.
All of the victims in this incident are of adult age, and so we know there were some questions there. The shooters are not in custody. We are following all leads. Our officers are working hard, and we will work until we bring these individuals to justice. We do have dozens of individuals that were attending the funeral that we are talking with right now to see if they are witnesses, if they saw anything. So we're working through that. We're following up on all leads. And again, we are confident we will bring these individuals to justice. We don't believe this was a targeted attack against a religion or anything like that. We don't believe at this point that this was random.
Yeah, so I think he's saying, it's not a target attack, it's not random, that it may have been at least directed towards certain individuals who may have been part of the group walking out of that facility.
Yeah, and we watched. You let me know that there was something going down, and so of course I stayed glued to my computer as well and saw KSL's traffic cams were showing all of the police presence. I think there were something like 18 units or something that were called out to the scene.
Yeah, first we heard 11 units sent out, and my wife remarked, and she's an attorney who's done some work with police, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
Then we have 18 units there, so it's
really
it's a very, very big deal.
Yeah.
And Salt Lake's still investigating it. I don't know whether they have anyone in custody yet. I would assume if they did, they will announce that at the press conference today, not necessarily before the press conference. We'll learn a lot more if there, in fact, is a press conference. We're expecting that at 10 o'clock. But Salt Lake City is working on this, and it's a very, very good police agency. Police Chief Redd seems to be on top of it. The mayor was also present. at the scene, and it's an ongoing investigation. It hasn't even been 24 hours, but we'll see where this goes.
I thought it was interesting that the police chief last night said suspects in the plural, right? Because I had heard they weren't sure if there were one or two or more, but it sounds like he feels fairly confident that there was more than just one.
Yeah, I think what he's talking about is that there was a car that came by that may have had several people in it. Whether or not more than one fired the weapon is a different question. But yes, it looks like it was there was a group of individuals that pulled up in a vehicle. Somebody opened fire at the crowd, and it's good that there were no children killed.
Yeah,
maybe there were no children present, but again, we've got 2 dead, 3 in critical condition, 3 that we don't know their exact condition. So a total of 8 people that were injured in this event last night.
Yeah, it sounds like the reason we started with the number 5 is because that was the 3 critically injured and 2 that were killed. But the other 3 were transported by private vehicle to hospitals. So I'm guessing that they're not as seriously injured if they were able to go in a private vehicle rather than waiting for an ambulance.
Right. And of course, if you're sitting there and somebody's hurt and someone you're with or you love, you care about,
Throw them in the car and get them to the hospital.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily going to wait until an ambulance arrives
that's right.
to get them out. So that has caused a little bit of misinformation or lack of information with respect to the police department because they're not sure how many actual victims there are. They seem to be fairly comfortable that there were 8 and that so far 2 are deceased.
Yeah, and we're going to continue following this story, I think, most of our show today, but we know, as you mentioned, that at 10 o'clock there will be a press conference to give us an update about anything that happened through the night. And when we come back, we're going to have the opportunity to talk with Garna, who was there last night talking to those witnesses.
Right, and we'll get some more information from the church, but we did get a statement before we break from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that reads as follows. We are aware of a serious incident that occurred outside a church meeting house at 660 North Redwood Road in Salt Lake City tonight as a memorial service was being held in the chapel. The church is cooperating with law enforcement and is grateful for the efforts of the first responders who were there.
Yeah.
It goes on a little bit. We'll come back with more. I think we're going to have Garna Mejia joining us after the break to discuss what's going on, get the latest update, and again, we may even have a press conference here in about 45 minutes. Stay with us.
We're at that time of year where we're thinking about a fresh start for your body and your mind, and those two are really connected, and I learned that when I started my SOTA weight loss journey. I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months.
Yeah, I did 37 pounds in about 3 months. And that was coming up on 4 years ago now. I feel so great knowing that I still now have access to a nutritionist anytime I need to text her.
It's a lot more simple than you think, and it fits right into your real life. They tailored it to my specific needs. I get up super early. So they said, okay, we're going to have you eat at this time. We're going to have you eat these things. That's what I needed. I need guidance. I don't do this well on my own.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I had great success.
12 months from now, you're either going to wish you had started SOTA or you're going to be really proud of yourself for doing this.
So take advantage of their promotional offer right now. You join, a partner joins for free. You get 2 transformations for the price of 1.
Don't let January be so stressful that you don't do the most important thing for your health, SOTA weight loss.
Go and see the proof yourself at SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com because SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
Sniffles and sneezes got you down? GoodRx is here to help with big savings on commonly prescribed cold and flu meds. GoodRx is free and easy to use. GoodRx is accepted at all major pharmacies like CVS, Walmart, and Walgreens. Just search your prescription, find a coupon, then show your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx is not insurance, but it works whether you have insurance or not. If you do, GoodRx may beat your copay price. Download the free app or visit GoodRx.com to save today.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at VaxAssist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Do you have an IRA or 401k? It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section and after Dad's back injury. They helped when you were in pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Trouble with opioids can start at home with unused medicines such as pills, patches, and syrups. You can remove the risk and protect your family. Find out how at www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner.
Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Hi, Grandma. What's for dinner?
Hey, honey, I'm making stew tonight.
Ooh, can Nina come over?
I'm not sure about our new friend. I wonder if there's been any drinking going on. Alcohol at her age can lead to so many bad things. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma?
This is hard. She's so young, but I know I need to talk to her about it now before someone tries to give her alcohol. If anyone ever does offer you a drink, I want you to say no. I have too much respect for my family, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay.
Really?
I promise, Grandma. I love you too.
Okay, how about tasting this stew and telling me what you think?
Some children may try alcohol as young as 9 years old. It's not too early to talk about drinking. For tips on how to begin the conversation, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
And expanded Inside Sources.
Salt Lake City Police Department, and a great thanks also to our fire department, who have been great partners in collaborating in this incident, are not going to rest until the individuals responsible are brought to justice. Full stop. No matter where they go, we will find them. They will be brought to justice.
That was Salt Lake City Mayor Aaron Mendenhall on the scene last night of a shooting, which we're talking about, that unfolded outside of a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house on 660 North Redwood Road. 8 people were shot. 2 people are dead. 3 are in critical condition. And we're continuing to follow that last night and this morning. Holly, you were listening, I think you said, to a press conference or press or some information that came out as late as 11 o'clock.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to have another press conference this morning at 10 o'clock, and we'll be carrying that live here on KSL News Radio. But neighbors near the church explained the gunshots last night.
It was like boom, 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 boom. I mean, it was fast. Someone said it was like ricocheting off the metal fence. I mean, and it was, they said it was in the back. I mean, it was wild.
We have some information that this wasn't targeted toward the religion itself and may not have been targeted toward a group because of their ethnicity. It may have been really targeted towards some individuals that were involved there. And again, there was a funeral type service or viewing that was happening inside the ward house at the time. People were coming out, and as they were coming out, a group was in the parking lot there, I think in an automobile, firing the shots. They've escaped, or at least took off at the time. I don't know whether they've been caught yet. We'll learn that at the press conference today, but there were several people involved, and the police are looking for those. And of course, Aaron Mendenhall seemed like she was adamant that police were not going to give up on this no matter what.
Yeah, of course. We have KSL 5 TV's Garna Mejia. She was on scene last night. Garna, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hey, you guys. Good morning.
Can you tell us what it was like to be there? It sounds like you were there very, very quickly.
Yeah, we started hearing, we were at the station, which is 2 miles away, and just started hearing a lot of activity on scanner. And you could sense that this was just something that was not one ordinary, I guess, incident, if you will, but there was a lot happening, and it was happening very, very quickly. Even from Broadcast House, we just saw just this mass movement of police vehicles just heading in that direction. And so we got in the car and started heading over, and those very early reports, and as Glenn Mills with Salt Lake City Police explained last night, they were responding to an active shooter situation and expecting the worst, a mass casualty event. They arrived, found in the parking lot two adult men who were deceased, 3 others critically injured, and 3 others also injured. So you're seeing this happening in a meeting house where there are hundreds of people attending a funeral. Now, what people inside that funeral were telling me is that they were there for a funeral service, a beloved community member, and towards the end of the service, they hear shots fired. They're quickly told, shelter in place, get to the gym area. Police arrived very, very quickly and started processing this scene.
Garnet, did all of the shooting and all the injuries occur outside of the church house? Was it in the parking lot? Is that what we understand?
Yeah, that's my understanding is as people were trickling out of the meeting house, as we were talking to neighbors, that activity seemed to be happening in the parking lot as this funeral was ending with hundreds of people inside. When I was speaking to family members who had come out to mourn last night, waiting, to see what was going to happen next, they were telling me that, at least one of those people that were killed was there to attend the funeral in support of they said a family friend. So it wasn't inside during the funeral, but it was in the parking lot in the back of the meeting house. And that is where we saw, a lot of that crime scene processing happening.
So, Garnet, can you tell us what we know so far? And I know we might have more information in about a half an hour, but what we know so far about the suspect or suspects in this case?
Yeah, that seems to be where we're all, waiting, giving police time to do their investigation. But what we heard last night at 11 o'clock was that they were still actively looking for this shooter or shooters. They said that the vehicle that was, a vehicle of interest to them, and that they had captured it in surveillance video, but that video was very grainy. They said it was a gray or silver SUV sedan, and it had, sped off in a northbound direction on Redwood Road. And, he wouldn't speak to, was this one shooter or 2 shooters? What neighbors were telling us is, they heard what sounded like fireworks. So was there the possibility that this was more than 1 or 2 guns? We don't know. But they said that was all part of what they were working to piece together.
Garnet, you were able to interview some of the funeral goers and some of the witnesses. What was the mood like when you got there?
It was very heavy. A lot of people in shock, processing. But those inside the meeting house said, it's really sad. We came for a sad moment to pay our respects, and here we are with more devastation. And I think that will continue to weigh over a lot of people. I was hearing from neighbors this morning. We were, receiving text messages, and they were saying, we couldn't sleep. We kept waking up thinking that we were hearing more shots. And it's understandable. There is someone out there who as at least what we know so far, has not been arrested as of 11 p.m. last night.
Garnet, I am wondering, too, if you can tell us, I think when we first heard, at least for me, when I first heard that there was a shooting at a church house, I thought it was maybe religiously motivated, but it doesn't seem to be the case. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding. The feeling that we got from police last night was, I don't know that I would call this a targeted incident, but that this seemed to be contained within one situation, that there wasn't necessarily an effort to go inside the building. That's not what we're hearing, is that there was some sort of altercation or something that broke out and that happened in that parking lot, and those shots were fired. What neighbors told me is they also saw this car just flying out. They heard just these tires screeching and just flying out. So I don't know if it was, just very quick in and out, or something broke out and then someone fled. I don't know. But it seems at this point that this was not coming in and attacking people for religious beliefs.
And I don't know whether you're aware of any updates with respect to victims in this case. Last night we heard, Garna, that there were 2 deceased, 3 in critical condition, and 3 that we weren't necessarily sure of their condition because they were taken to local hospitals by family members. Do we know anything more about the 8 individuals that were involved as victims in this case?
Yeah, family members that were present at the time at the scene, and that was part of the confusion, is that, as police arrived very, very quickly, medical help was there very quickly, but also I think people seeing each other injured got family members in cars and started driving to nearest hospital. So there were family members that were just driving around trying to find out where everyone was, where everyone had been taken. And, at last report, they said no children. They said adults were involved in this. So 2 deceased adults. My understanding it's 2 men from family members who have passed away, 3 in critical, as you mentioned, and 3 others injured. And, I have not heard this morning from family members, so I don't know what the status is. I'm hoping we can get something during that update from police here.
Just a follow-up question on the no children. Were there children at the funeral? There's just no children involved as victims?
That's right. And that was, Holly, one of the just kind of most sobering moments was seeing this hearse surrounded by police tape, as they're processing the scene. But also, as you see people being released, and what police were telling us is they, got all this large group of funeral goers. There's at least more than 100 people there, and some people told me it could have been 200 people that were attending the funeral. They were questioning, processing, and releasing people. Anybody that they wanted to question further was, taken into custody. And we did see one man who was handcuffed and, loaded into a police vehicle. But as they were releasing people, part of what we were seeing were families, were children, were young children, who had been sitting in this meeting house for hours. I want to say that the last group that I saw coming out of the building was well past 10:30, maybe even 10:45. Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Garna. That was KSL TV's Garna Mejia, who was on the scene last night of this shooting at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house on 6th North and Redwood Road. When we come back, we're going to have live analysis from a crime and terrorism expert on the recent violence here in the U.S., not only in Salt Lake City, but what unfolded last night and yesterday afternoon with ICE agents in Minneapolis, where a woman was killed yesterday. Stay with us.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour: a highway patrol trooper was involved in a fatal crash last night. The Department of Public Safety says it happened in the Eagle Mountain area. The trooper himself was not injured, but an adult man was killed. The Utah County Sheriff's Office is currently investigating the incident. A woman was arrested after Salt Lake City police say she hit 3 kids in a crosswalk. Jamie Barnard is accused of driving with an obstructed view because of frost on her windshield, leading to her hitting the 2 12-year-olds and 1 13-year-old around 9th East and 9th South. One of the kids was seriously injured. The other 2 were taken to the hospital with minor injuries. Police say Barnard immediately left the scene and has not given many details to police about the incident. Our top national story this hour: 2.5 years after Texas deployed the first floating barriers to deter illegal border crossings, only 2,000 feet of the buoys have been strung down the Rio Grande. ABC's Jim Ryan says the program is being dramatically expanded.
The Department of Homeland Security is swapping out the giant orange spheres in favor of 15-foot floating cylinders, says Border Patrol Chief Michael Banks.
As you try to climb up onto the buoys, they roll backwards, preventing you from being able to climb on.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem.
These barriers will make it much harder for illegal aliens, drug smugglers, and human traffickers to cross the river.
She hopes to have 500 miles of floating barrier in the Rio Grande in the coming months. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 289 right now. That's 0.6%. We're at 49,285. Coming up, we still have a chance of some lake effect snow today. We'll check KSL weather next. KSL News Time, 9:32. A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM. When you need a new water heater, you need it right now.
Yep, can't wait on that.
When you need a new furnace or a new air conditioner come the summertime, you need it right now. So Superior Water and Air has a wonderful program where they can help you with financing. If you need it, get it today and pay it off when you get your tax refund or just over time.
And that's one of the great things is they have multiple financing options. It's not just one, okay, you've got to do it this way. It's, you can wait till just after your tax refund. Well, what if you need no payments until later in the year?
Yeah.
They can work with you like that because, look, they want to help you get you back on your feet with the thing that doesn't work that you got to use.
Yeah.
And they'll just work with your situation. What a great way to do it.
I loved introducing you to my friends at Superior because they're just great people. And when you invite somebody into your home, you want to feel good about them.
Yeah, and they're so customer-centric. That was what really impressed me was they wanted to work with me and my family, whatever needs we might have.
Right. They want your home to be safe and clean. Superior Water and Air. Here's the number, 801-872-8483, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
Who is Farm Bureau Financial Services? At our core, we're relationship builders. We're home and auto bundlers, life insurers, farm and ranch protectors, and retirement planners. We're neighbors, community members, and friends. We're the people you can count on now and for years to come. Find a Farm Bureau agent at fbfs.com/protect. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company.
Utah is one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family. But for many Utahns, the dream of owning a home is slipping away. Home prices have risen faster than incomes, and families are spending nearly 2/3 of what they earn just to keep a roof overhead. From young graduates to grandparents, everyone is feeling the squeeze. Utah needs more homes, the right kinds of homes, so families can stay close and our communities can thrive. That's why Utah Workforce Housing Advocacy created Demand More Supply, a statewide effort helping Utahns understand the issue and take action in their own communities. Because when we work together, we can make housing affordable again for today's families and for future generations. Let's make the dream of owning a home a reality again. Learn more and add your voice at demandmoresupply.com. Demandmoresupply.com. That's demandmoresupply.com.
Hi, I'm Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell, America's largest family law firm. During this time of year, difficult relationships sometimes become impossible. If you or someone you care about is facing a family law issue, let us set up a 1-hour Cordell Consult. The Cordell Consult is a meeting with a local attorney who will give you clear guidance about your options, whether it's a separation, a postnuptial agreement, divorce, or custody. Take the first step. Visit CordellCordell.com. That's CordellCordell.com.
Traffic and weather together, and it's sponsored by UCCU, People Helping People, Love Where You Bank. And back over to you, Jason.
And Amanda, as we said, it's the morning of minor accidents. We have another one. This is southbound I-15 around 6 North. It's off to the right shoulder, not causing any delays. Obviously, just don't make that situation any worse than it could be by getting caught up in all the flashing lights that are there. Otherwise, the rest of your drive on I-15 is fantastic. Both north and southbound between Payson and Ogden, it's flowing at regular speeds there. They've done quick work on that delays that they've had over there on Wasatch Boulevard trying to get into Big Cottonwood Canyon. You have some minor leftover delays on the southbound side on Wasatch Boulevard, but most northbound has all been cleared out at this point, and you're good to go pretty much into Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. Remember, traction restrictions in place for those because it is kind of snowy up there, and but down in the valleys, it's pretty much getting dried out at this point. Your ultimate destination for the hottest new cars and trucks, off-road vehicles, exotics, and more is at the Utah Auto Expo, the 16th through 19th at Mountain America Expo Center. Tickets at autoshowutah.com. I'm Jason Jones in the KSL Traffic Center.
We have a chance of some lake effect snow today. It shouldn't be too bad. Might linger in Tooele County, but move out by tomorrow. Expect some cold winds with highs in the 30s. Right now it's 36 degrees. I'm Amanda Dixon from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Holly and I have been reporting this morning on the violence that occurred last night in Salt Lake City. And Holly, as we were leaving our show yesterday, we were just hours away from an ICE shooting in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Of course, then we had a shooting last night at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house where a funeral was taking place. It was on 6 North and Redwood Road. 2 people dead there, 3 in critical condition. We're probably about a half an hour away from a press conference, but 2 really violent acts within just half a day of each other.
Yeah, that's right. And, we have an expert with us, Brad Garrett. He's ABC's news, crime, and terrorism analyst, and I think a former FBI agent. Is that correct, Brad?
That's correct.
Thanks so much for joining us. I wonder if you could just briefly talk to us a little bit about what your take might be on the shooting that happened outside of the funeral here in Utah.
So, my initial thoughts were that this sounds like assuming the following, that you have people drive up, 1 or 2 or whatever the number is, get out of a car, shoot people at a funeral and leave, sort of is a potential indicator of a gang shooting. And the reason I say that is because in D.C. I've worked so many of a version of that, where somebody gets killed, there's a funeral, the adversarial gang goes and shoots up the place where a deceased person is having a funeral or just had a funeral. That was my initial thoughts. And I think your police chief he didn't say that, but he made a comment basically that he didn't think it was random, and that it was more targeted at the people at this location. So we'll see what they say later today, but that was my initial impression.
Given the shooting, and by the way, Brad, I have the same initial impression just having practiced law here in Salt Lake for the last 45 years. Given what happened and just the number of people that were there, what do you suppose law enforcement has been doing since that shooting here in Salt Lake with respect to trying to get suspects into custody?
Well, typically, as you well know, in shootings like this, there's a connection between at least the deceased person, the person at the funeral home that's deceased, and the people that were there to pay respects to him are connected in some form or fashion, and so that the shooters are connected in some form or fashion. Maybe not individually to people, or maybe some of them, but there's a connection someplace. And that's where I would start. Now, what video do they have? What descriptions do they have? What license plate readers caught cars going in the direction to or from the shooting site? All of that may give them potential leads as to who they're dealing with. But my sense would be that this is a solvable case. Now, getting people to cooperate with you may be a different problem. But that's my initial thoughts.
Thanks so much. I wonder if we could go ahead and switch to what happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota yesterday. That news broke right as we were finishing our show, and what we know so far is that 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good was shot and killed by, at least allegedly, by an ICE agent. Looks like that. I wonder if you could talk to us about your take of that.
So, last night we only had the one video that the public had, I think was from some private individual, where you can't really see the ICE agent that commits the shooting. I've now looked at this from different angles because they have different video from different angles. And, yes, 2 ICE agents get out of what looks like a pickup truck. One of the agents approaches and starts pulling on her door, and she turns the wheel and drives off. And then within a second or so, that's when you see the shooting. The other camera or other angle that I saw a few hours ago, would suggest that she wasn't really aiming for the ICE agent, that her wheels were turned. He was fairly close to her. Does that justify the use of deadly force? That may remain to be seen. It doesn't, maybe this becomes an individual thing. I wouldn't have shot her based on what I see in the video, but that doesn't mean he wasn't justified. We'll have to see how that plays out. But, there's no indicator she's armed. And so the only deadly force potentially is her vehicle. Now, obviously, if she'd sped up and drove right for him, this would be a much more clear-cut discussion. But it's not. Could he have stepped back a half a step and she wouldn't have even touched him? Maybe. We'll have to see.
And then there are several shots fired, Brad, it looks like, at least from my angle, into the side window where the officer who was firing was not in the line of the vehicle at any rate. But that doesn't mean he hadn't been before. But how does this play out in terms of an investigation when you have this number of videos, this number of people that were sort of taping things, and you have law enforcement involved in a shooting that caused the death of a person?
Well, it gives you, if you are two things. If you are the shooting review team or shooting reconstruction team, which we've been told is going to be made up of the FBI and the investigative division or lab division of the Minnesota State Police, they'll do the shooting aspect, and they'll also, in particular the FBI, I think, will do the circumstances and events that led up to the shooting. In other words, the ICE agent, walks up to the door, shakes the door. She apparently feels startled and drives off. And were there things that happened prior to them even approaching her car that may change the circumstances to a certain extent? I obviously don't know the answer to that, but that's the stuff I would be looking for. So you're talking about a lot of interviews, both with witnesses at the scene, agents and officers at the scene, and I'm hoping that they're wearing body-worn cameras so that the agent that commits the shooting has a camera on. So you really see his vision as to why he was shooting. Now, that may not be the case, and we may not have that video. But it's all of those things and a number of other things that they're going to be looking at to see what really happened here.
Can I ask you a really quick question about ICE's approach? Are they hurting law enforcement's credibility?
Well, from my perspective, they are. I think the sort of roughshod way they do these arrests and do them in mass, groups, showing up at a 7-Eleven or a Home Depot or into an immigrant neighborhood and just start rounding people up. First of all, it scares people, and maybe that's their intention. And it creates a lot of angst and anger against law enforcement, the way they are enforcing these arrests. And if you think about that long term, I've worked a lot of homicides in minority neighborhoods, immigrant neighborhoods. And it takes a lot of time and energy to develop relationships because there are a lot of cases you're not going to be able to solve without their help. They live there. They know the people. They've seen things. They saw the gun, whatever it might be. And it's this type of behavior that keeps happening almost every day that I think tarnishes and or at least temporarily destroys what relationship police may have with those neighborhoods. So I'm not saying that I should just ignore the immigrants in the country, but there's a much more professional way. And if they're working off quotas, which I've read is the case, where they are mandated to do so many arrests a day, that's certainly going to drive this sort of behavior where you just go and start checking people out in masses as to who's legal, who's not legal, etc.
Thank you so much for that information. We've been speaking with Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst. And when we come back, we're going to continue a discussion about what we have learned since yesterday's shooting of a woman in Minnesota. Stay with us.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
You trust us for news and information in your car. Now trust us at home. KSL News Radio has you covered, keeping you informed on the latest breaking news, weather, traffic, sports, and more. Listen on your Amazon Echo or Google Home device. Just say, Alexa, open KSL News Radio. Or listen on the KSL News Radio Listen app. Text the word app to 57500. KSL News Radio. We have you covered.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
Inside Sources.
Protesters are back out on the streets this morning in Minnesota after yesterday's deadly shooting involving an ICE agent. Federal officials say 37-year-old Renee Good was trying to use her car to hit an agent when agents opened fire, killing her. ABC News national correspondent Alex Perez was on the scene.
We have our own medics.
Where are they?
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, who has deployed 2,000 federal officers to Minnesota, says the shooting was justified and argues the agent feared for his life.
This appears as an attempt to kill or to cause bodily harm to agents, an act of domestic terrorism.
But state officials and the mayor of Minneapolis dispute the account from the feds and say the woman posed no threat. Demonstrators taking to the streets after the shooting.
They're really, really angry. I saw something yesterday that there were something like 10,000 protesters out last night. And Minnesota is really cold right now. But they were out protesting ICE's actions.
And it was interesting to hear from our last guest, Brad Garrett, ABC News crime and terrorism analyst and former FBI agent, because he has experience similar to mine. When I was at the district attorney's office, we would investigate all of the officer-involved shootings, so we would have investigated this particular incident.
Yeah.
And then in my private practice, I represent police officers as part of several police unions when they're involved in these shootings. So I've worked these cases from both ends. And I want to reiterate something Brad said. When you look at a case like this, you have to determine whether or not the action of the police officer was justified as a use of self-defense.
Right.
I mean, that's the only justification an officer can use is defense of himself or others when they pull the trigger. So you're going to look at what he was perceiving at the time. And the best way to know that is his body cam. So hopefully that officer had a body cam, because then you can see what he was perceiving at the time. And Garrett's right. Brad Garrett's right. If you're an officer and you're standing there and it looks like someone is about to kill you with their motor vehicle, you are entitled to use deadly force because that's a use of force.
Yeah.
A motor vehicle is a deadly weapon when it's being pointed towards you.
We had a police officer killed by a motor vehicle, right? By a semi.
Exactly, right.
Michael Jane.
Michael Jane, yeah.
Right, is alleged to have deliberately driven his semi into the police officer down in Santa Clara that was killed.
Preliminary hearing was just this last few days.
Yeah.
And so, that's what they're going to be looking at here. Now, of course, my take on this, looking at what happened, it appears, and again, cooler heads will prevail as they start looking at this. It appears that he was not necessarily in the line of that vehicle.
Yeah.
He was off to the side. We heard early reports that he was hospitalized and that he was run over. We know
he was not hit by the car.
We know that those are not true. It doesn't look like he was even touched by the car.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, what was he perceiving when the car was coming at him? Here's another problem, just from my own perspective and my own experience, is that there were 2 shots fired into the driver's side window when the vehicle was in no way harm to him.
So there was already 1 shot fired directly through the windshield in the front, and then the other 2 were fired from the side. So to your point, he was not in the path of the car at that point.
So you can fire when you're in danger, but when the danger no longer exists, and I know it's easy for me to say because once you start firing a gun, police are told you shoot to kill. You don't just stop. But you do stop if you are no longer legitimately or reasonably in fear of your own life or the life of others.
You know, one of the things about this case, and we talked about it yesterday as it was just breaking, is that there are conflicting responses to this, of course. So we do have DHS and Kristi Noem saying he followed his training. They're calling the female driver of the car a domestic terrorist. I think they were saying those things before they even knew her name, right? Or before they even knew anything about her. And now, as Brad Garrett pointed out, there's multiple videos from multiple angles, and we can see, I think, more clearly. And one of the things that it seems like to me is that they yelled at her to get out, get out, get out. And so she was reversing her car and trying to get out. And then an agent starts pulling on her door handle, and then the other one shoots.
Right. And it looks to me just from the video there that she's trying to get out of the situation. Yeah. Her car is blocking their vehicles. She's trying to move. She's trying to negotiate the vehicle around these agents. They're surrounding her a little bit. One of them grabs the door, and she sort of starts driving off. We're getting some reaction from the mayor of Minneapolis and Governor Walz of Minnesota. A little bit of their comments have been blipped here. You'll hear why.
Mayor Jacob Frey reacting to claims of self-defense.
That is.
He had this message for ICE.
Get out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here.
Governor Tim Walz urging calm but laying blame squarely at the Trump administration's feet.
It's governing by reality TV. And today that recklessness cost someone their life.
You know, we are so far apart in the way that we are looking at this shooting. It's a snapshot of where we are, I think, in America right now, because you have Kristi Noem and the president saying act of domestic terrorism. Agent was in the line of fire. He had to shoot to save himself. And then you have the mayor.
President Trump even said that the guy barely survived, and it was a miracle that he was still alive. But it looks, by all accounts, he wasn't even hit because there's a video of him jogging down the street after he had shot her.
Right. And yeah, so then you've got the mayor and the governor of Minnesota really very critical of ICE. I'll tell you, there's another thing, if you watch the videos, that's really telling to me, and I don't know how this plays out, But after the shooting, if you watch the other ICE agents who are
Mhm.
there,
They look like they're celebrating.
no, it looks like they're going, "What are you doing?" I mean,
Oh,
one of
well.
them kind of ducks down, and the other one sort of holds his hands up in the air. I mean, I got the sense, and maybe there's two different views of this, but I got the sense that they were going, "What did we just do
Yeah.
here?" That they may not have been on board with what that officer was doing.
Well, I hope that's true. And, you mentioned body cams, and I mean, I have a question. Christy Nome, first of all, didn't say whether or not they were wearing body cameras, but I didn't think that ICE agents routinely wore or activated body cameras. Am I wrong in that?
I think you are. I don't know
Okay.
in 2026 whether almost any law enforcement agency does not have body cams. So I would assume they
Well,
did.
ICE is different.
ICE is different. You're right. They're not doing the type of work that law enforcement on the streets do. So they may not have. But whether they did or not, police are gathering. We've seen a number of videos because body cams or not, people around the scene have their cell phone cameras on.
Yeah.
And there may have been law enforcement there that did have body cams. I think we're going to see more and more and more views of this. We've only seen, I think, 2 or 3 views, and they're from the same angle where you can't see exactly where the officer was in relation to the front of the vehicle
Mhm.
until the second and third shots, where he's clearly not in danger at all, where he's just shooting in the driver's side window.
Yeah. Yesterday when I saw a video, though, I could see him clearly at the front of the car. And it didn't look like she was accelerating towards him. We saw the car accelerate after that, but she had already been shot 3 times, and it ran into either another car or a light pole or something. But she was slumped over in the car. And there's another video that has come out. There's a physician, a doctor. He identifies himself and says, "Let me get over there and help her." And ICE agents won't let him go over and help her. And so you can see the door open, and she's slumped over the steering wheel. And he's like, "Let me go help her. Let me go help her." And they said no. And then they started swearing at him and get the F back.
So if he identified himself as a doctor and said, "Let me jump in," he should have been able to jump in.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they're trying to preserve their scene, their homicide scene. They have to keep it clean as possible. They've got a suspect that they don't know her condition, but you've got a doctor there. I mean, if paramedics had arrived, they would have.
Well,
let
and
him
they
jump
they
in.
said we have our own medics, but they didn't have medics on scene. And when the ambulance got there, they wouldn't let the ambulance in, and they had to walk into the scene and then carry her body to the ambulance. But look, it's. I think it just feels like things are escalating, right? And when you've got 10,000 people protesting and you've got people dying, it's really a problem.
And 2 completely divergent views of
Completely
what happened
divergent
here,
views.
and that we're just going to have to look at the body cams and decide what to do.
Yeah.
We started the show today, Holly, talking about what happened last night in Salt Lake City. We are expecting that the Salt Lake City Police Department Chief Red will be giving a press conference here at about 10 o'clock. When he does, we'll break away to that. And we'll take a break right now and jump back if that press conference starts.
Thanks.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. KSL's top story this hour. Police just released the names of the 2 people killed in the shooting outside Salt Lake City Church in a parking lot late last night. They are identified as 38-year-old Sione Vatuvei and 46-year-old Vaea Tuliki Hihifo. We are standing by for a news conference where police will update us on the investigation and search for suspects. We will break in live as soon as that happens. Also breaking this morning, the U.S. Senate just advanced a resolution that would limit President Trump's ability to conduct further attacks against Venezuela. The 52-47 vote to advance the War Powers Resolution ensures a later Senate vote for final passage. The bill does not have much chance of becoming law because President Trump would have to sign it if it were to pass through the GOP-controlled House. The Trump administration has unveiled new dietary guidelines emphasizing protein, whole grains, and healthy fats. For the first time, the government guidelines also call out the dangers of highly processed foods.
The American Medical Association applauding the new guidelines it says are spotlighting the highly processed foods, sugar-sweetened beverages, and excess sodium that fuel heart disease, diabetes, obesity, and other chronic illnesses. But too much saturated fat concerns some doctors. Another change, new alcohol guidelines. Previously, 2 or fewer drinks per day were advised for men and less for women. Now, there's no set amount listed in the guidelines.
ABC's Andrea Fujii reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 303 right now. We're at 49,295. Coming up, there still could be some bands of lake effect snow today. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 10:02.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard,
we're going to break away to a press conference right now. We're hearing from Salt Lake City Police Public Information Officer Glenn Mills, who's alongside Chief Brian Redd. We'll probably hear from both of them.
Happen in our community. So thank you for the work that you do here to keep the public informed. Aside me as Chief Brian Redd of the Salt Lake City Police Department, I will now turn the time over to him and he will offer an update on the incident from last night. Afterwards, we will be able to take some questions as well.
Thank you all for being here. No problem. Again, thank you all for being here. I'll give you a quick update here this morning. We have, as you know, and we reported last night, we have 2 individuals who were fatally wounded last night. We have 5 additional injured who are currently being treated at local hospitals with what appear. I'll give you a quick update here this morning. We have, as you know, and we reported last night, we have 2 individuals who were fatally wounded last night. We have 5 additional injured who are currently being treated at local hospitals with what appear to be at this time non-life-threatening injuries. 1 has been treated and released. The fatally wounded have been identified as Vaya Tulikananifo, Tulikananifo. First name is V-A-E-A. 46, and Sione Vatuve, 38 years of age, both residents of Utah. We again express our condolences to the families and those affected by this senseless tragedy. This is still a very active investigation. I do want to make it clear today, while this incident occurred at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints facility, this was not a targeted attack on the LDS faith. There are people involved in this incident who have been less than cooperative, and we're still working to identify all who were involved in the incident and their roles in the matter. Our focus now is bringing all those involved to justice, and we will do that, and our detectives are working overtime to resolve these issues. There was a dispute last night between individuals who are known to each other who happened to be attending a funeral service, a memorial service. We do not believe at this time there is a threat to the general public. We want to thank our outside law enforcement agencies for their response to our city last night and for their continued support in this investigation. I want to thank Chief Lieb and the Salt Lake City Fire Department, Gold Cross, and 911 Dispatch for their support in this as well. They're great partners. Thank you, Chief Lieb. I want to reemphasize that if anyone in the public has information that they can provide to us, that would be very helpful. And you can call our non-emergency number at 801-799-3000. Again, if there's an emergency or you have information where you're concerned, call 911. It's still an active investigation, and we're looking into that. We believe there are more than, yes, we believe there was an exchange of gunfire. So that's what we're still looking into and investigating. Yeah, no additional updates on that right now.
We're hearing from Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd, who's taking questions mostly about the suspects and what the city has learned so far.
We're still looking into all of that. It was a very complicated crime scene, but we are looking into that. We're looking at all evidence that we can obtain from the scene, and then immediately as people were leaving the scene, as I indicated last night, any evidence from cameras or anything that might help us identify vehicles that were leaving the scene. Yeah. We're still looking into that, but yeah, we're looking into that. Again, we are looking into the reason and cause for the gunfire in the first place, so we just don't want to get ahead of the investigation here. Again, the funeral was going on inside, and there were individuals on the outside. No one is in custody yet, though we do have officers at the hospital with those who are being treated. Well, we interviewed a number of people last night. We're taking the information that we get, but again, we're still having some challenges with cooperation, and so we are asking the public and anyone that has information that could be helpful to please call us.
We've been listening to Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd talk about the events that occurred at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house last evening. A lot of his answers are, we're looking into it, we're still looking at it, and that, which tells me that they don't have any suspects in custody yet. He did say something that was really interesting to me, and he said, we have people who are less than cooperative.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
I'm wondering, and reading between the lines, maybe one of the injured persons was part of the attacking group.
It could have been that they were actually outside their vehicle.
Right, and because he also said that there were five others besides the two deceased. We had always heard 6. We had heard 3 were critical. He said 5 with non-life-threatening injuries. In fact, 1 had been released.
I think that's the 6th one. So there were 5 still in the hospital, but
see.
1 had been treated and released, so definitely not life-threatening because they're already back home.
But right, not life-threatening, and they're still looking at it, trying to get information from individuals. And, of course, situations like this are very tough. If, in fact, it was gang-related, and I'm not saying it was, they certainly would mummy up and protect one another. There was a funeral going on inside the chapel, and people were sort of exiting, and I'm wondering if it was targeted toward something related to the person who was they were celebrating his death.
I mean, that's always a possibility in any investigation, but that's not where we're at right now. Where we're at is we're just asking for cooperation so we can resolve this issue.
He did indicate some people were detained, but no one is in custody yet.
So there is indication that there were individuals at the scene that were potentially involved in gang activity. We don't know the cause for the violence, and so that's what we're investigating. So we're cautious to say this is a gang-related shooting because we're still investigating the cause of the shooting.
Yeah, they're talking about the location, the venue of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house, and if there was any significance to that. I think that the answer is going to be no.
I don't know the religious affiliation of those at the funeral, and our gang unit was not at the funeral. The gang unit is helping after the shooting occurred, and that would be, they're out working, and so we're going to tap into them for sure on any shooting. Yeah, we're not prepared to share a description. There was more than one vehicle that left after the shooting, and so we're looking into all of that right now. When we're confident of a vehicle description and involvement, we would put that out to the public, because we certainly want to give you as much information as possible to help us with this, but we're not prepared to release any information on a vehicle at this point.
Sounds like several vehicles pulled up to the church house when the shooting started, and they're looking at those.
Our
They've got some
detectives are working
descriptions.
right now, working through what any evidence that they might be able to obtain. I don't know if they've had an opportunity to review that video, but we've been attempting to pull it right now. We can follow up at the appropriate time. I don't have any additional information at this point. Yeah, we did say that. Yeah, they are all adult. We did confirm that last night. Yeah. If there is any information to suggest these individuals have left the state, we will follow these individuals wherever they go, and we will hold them accountable. So that if the investigation develops in such a way that we believe people have left the state, we will be working with law enforcement agencies in those states to find them.
He seems reluctant to describe this as a gang shooting, but reading between the lines, it
Yeah,
seems
I would
like he's
say
thinking that it probably is.
there was a dispute between individuals, and there are a number of people that we're looking for right now. Yes, and I don't have the specific number of people involved. That's all still being sorted out, so I'm cautious. But in any dispute, there's going to be more than one person. So, yeah.
They've got information about the suspects. He's just holding it close to the vest right now, which obviously is part of the investigation.
Yeah.
Again, we've been listening to Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd doing a debrief of the shooting last night.
The information that we're releasing
Ward
right
House.
now is that these individuals were known to each other. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that.
We have time for probably two more questions.
Yeah, we'll stay for these last two questions. Again, trying to find out whether this is gang involvement.
Absolutely. Our houses of worship are sacred, whatever the affiliation. We should all protect those spaces, and we should all respect those spaces. And as we move forward in the days, we do work very closely with all of our houses of worship, with all of our faith community. What I would say is, if faith communities are concerned, please reach out to the police department. We do have contact with them on a pretty regular basis, but if there's anyone that would like to communicate and work with us, we're certainly happy to do so. We were in communication with officials from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints last night, and we'll continue to do so, be in touch with them as we move forward. We're always worried about an escalation or potential retaliation for any situation like this. And what I would say is, if there are individuals who are in fear of anything like that, please reach out to us and let us know so that we can help. And again, we're asking for anyone in the public or anyone that knows anything about this incident to please reach out to us and share that information with us so we can resolve this matter. And we will resolve it. Again, I'm not ready to confirm those details, but as soon as we can confirm that, we will.
Okay, last question.
Talking about whether law enforcement is present with the individuals who are in the hospital.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right
We
now.
have officers at the hospitals currently. Our hospitals have security, and those are things that we would always, be concerned about. And so, yes, we're considering all things like that.
That was Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd giving us an update on the events that occurred last night. Of course, it's ongoing. He didn't share a lot of information. Did share, Holly, the names and age of the two victims, a 38-year-old Sione Vatue and 46-year-old Vae Toli Kanifo, two individuals who were killed last night, and then indicated that there were apparently 6 others injured, non-life-threatening. One's even been released from the hospital. We'll probably learn more about this as the day goes on, and if there are updates, we'll break away to that. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with Inside Sources.
If you're ready to buy a home or sell a home and you're worried about the current real estate market because of what you've heard from some of your friends or family, well, we're here to tell you that you really shouldn't be worried, because now is a great time to buy and sell with our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
And here's why. Buyers have more options due to increased inventory, which gives them the power to negotiate for repairs, interest rate buy-downs, and closing cost assistance. While at the same time, sellers are still getting top dollar for their homes, with home values that are higher today than ever before. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, the current real estate market presents a win-win opportunity for both buyers and sellers.
But you still do want to make sure that you're working with a team of real estate experts you can trust that can get you some great results. And that's our friends at the Stern Team, powered by Almada Real Estate.
They have helped thousands of Salt Lake City homeowners, and they're ready to help you. To get started, just go to thesternteam.com. That's thesternteam.com, or Google The Stern Team.
I'm Jordan Wilcox, your Utah tax attorney. When life gets overwhelming, some things tend to fall by the side.
I'm Carlos Sanchez from Draper, Utah. I was managing a business, helping out a business, doing paperwork and getting paid, and my wife got sick. We filed taxes, but then we got audited. And when I went and talked to the IRS, they didn't give me any choice. The IRS pretty much said, this is what you owe us, when are you gonna pay us? And we're talking quite a bit. But every time I drive, I listen to the radio. Jordan Wilcox, Jordan Wilcox. So I figure there's a reason these guys on the radio. So I called them.
Put an end to IRS collection and aggression today.
The amount that the IRS came up with, close to $250,000, and the offer and compromise was about $7,600. That's it.
This is Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. Let's solve your IRS nightmare. Visit endtaxworry.com.
Go for it. The outcome, it was worth it. I'm okay.
endtaxworry.com.
Did you know bad bacteria causes cavities and tooth decay? Did you know bad bacteria feed off residue left by sugary foods and drinks? Keep your family healthy. Your smile matters.
Be sure to brush 2 times daily for at least 2 minutes with fluoride toothpaste.
Floss once a day and limit sugary foods and drinks like sweetened juices, candies, and sodas.
Even sugar-free carbonated drinks can be harmful to teeth. Be sure to visit your dentist for regular checkups and cleanings. If you don't have a dentist, visit yoursmileutah.org for more information on community dental services. This message is brought to you by Utah Oral Health Coalition, Utah Dental Association, University of Utah School of Dentistry, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and other Utah health partners. Remember, a healthy smile means a healthier life. Learn more at yoursmileutah.org.
Because your smile matters.
Between all the holiday parties,
weekend tailgates,
and family get-togethers,
we've been overindulging a little more than usual over the holidays. But now, we are starting the new year off on a healthier note by taking Active Liver supplements from New Nordic every day.
Active Liver contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, all natural ingredients that help protect the liver so that it can protect you from toxins. It's like giving my body a daily detox. I've never felt better, and my energy is through the roof.
And my doctor is already impressed with how much better my numbers are looking. So if better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com. Or pick some up today at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery. Are now available at Wegmans. New year, new you, new Nordic.
This is Andy Farnsworth with One Kind Act a Day's Minute of Kindness, brought to you by the Semnani Family Foundation. At Pioneer Elementary in Ogden, kindness and creativity go hand in hand. From the moment you walk through the doors, you can feel the positivity. Through programs like Junior Hope Squad and peer leadership, students promote kindness by organizing food drives, leading small acts of service, and encouraging friendship across the school. But the spirit of Pioneer Elementary didn't stop there, as the school's robotic team gives a chance to build, problem solve, and grow together to learn teamwork and innovation. Longtime teacher Ms. Pepper Dickamore, recently recognized for over 30 years of making a difference, says her love for her students is what drives her every day. How can you use your talents, like Pioneer Elementary, to make your community a little brighter? Find out more at thepowerofkind.org. That's thepowerofkind.org.
My savings are gone.
Okay, where were they last?
Here, right before I spent them on that vacation to Aruba.
Weird. Not weird. Not saving now means no money later. For free ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
We're following up on some breaking news last night. A shooting in Salt Lake City at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house on Redwood Road. Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd did announce just minutes ago the names of those killed and a little bit more information that we didn't know until just now.
The fatally wounded have been identified as Vaya Tulikana Nifo and Sione Vatuve, both residents of Utah. We again express our condolences to the families and those affected by this senseless tragedy. This is still a very active investigation. I do want to make it clear today that while this incident occurred at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints facility, this was not a targeted attack on the LDS faith.
That was an important consideration because the word that we were getting last night is that there was a shooting at a church house. And so you're thinking, oh boy, it's another targeted attack toward a religion.
Yeah.
That probably wasn't the case. Was it a target toward a certain ethnic group? Probably not. But was it involving two different groups that were disputing? The police chief was sort of held it close to the vest, but it sounds like this was almost like a fight between two groups.
He said one of the things that he said is that they at least they feel like they know now that the individuals involved in the dispute actually knew each other.
There was a dispute last night between individuals who are known to each other, who happened to be attending a funeral service, a memorial service. We do not believe at this time there is a threat to the general public.
That tells me that they feel like the suspects are gone, that they're not still hanging out there.
Actually, there are a couple of things, and you're used to reading between the lines maybe with police briefings more than I am, but it sounded to me like one of the people in the hospital might be one of the shooters, right? That they had police there, that they've gotten the gang unit involved after last night's dispute, that they weren't at the funeral, but they're now helping in the investigation.
Or at least was in sync with the shooters, because they said we have people who are not very cooperative.
Yeah, that's right. And then another thing that stood out to me just in that sound clip where he was saying that the individuals knew each other, but it sounded like maybe they were actually attending the same funeral and not just showing up in the parking lot. I don't know.
Yeah, that's hard to tell. Boy, and he gave a lot of "we're looking into it" answers, which I think he kind of had to do.
Yeah, of course.
It was helpful to do the press conference. I have to hand it to the chief that he was willing to stand up so soon after this shooting and give us a press conference, but he didn't have a lot of information, still gathering as much information as possible. And he and the mayor both are just adamant that we're going to catch this person. We're working on it. Yeah, whatever. And that they're not going to give up.
He even said that they weren't going to release the description of the vehicles, and we had heard maybe that it was like a gray SUV, but that the images were really grainy from traffic cams. And he seemed to clarify that they know what the multiple vehicles look like, but they're not releasing that information right now.
Right. And as I indicated, Mayor Aaron Mendenhall did say that they were not going to let this slide.
Salt Lake City Police Department, and a great thanks also to our fire department, who have been great partners in collaborating in this incident, are not going to rest until the individuals responsible are brought to justice. Full stop. No matter where they go, we will find them. They will be brought to justice.
And she was present, apparently. Her chief was present. There were, I think, 18 units that backed up.
Yeah.
There was a huge law enforcement
Pretty quickly.
presence there doing a lot of investigation. I imagine they've got more than just some ideas about who is involved in their minds right now.
It sounds like it. And it was interesting that they said not everybody is cooperating with them.
Yeah. So, when you have two, apparently he didn't say anything about the deceased except their age and their name.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is they're probably innocent people just having walked out. We don't know anything about that.
Yeah, we don't know.
But and then 5 or 6 others that were shot and wounded. If you can imagine, I saw some of the footage. People were exiting the church house, and the doors were kind of limited, and so there were a lot of people in a short space going into that parking lot. There must have been some sort of dispute going on in the parking lot. Some of the individuals getting involved in altercation, and then all of a sudden the guns come out. And
and I wonder, and you might answer this, it sounds to me like maybe there was the fight involved an exchange of gunfire between 2 different individuals or 2 different groups of people, right? That it wasn't just one person or a couple of people who started firing, that maybe the fight was on both sides. It sounded like maybe.
Right, and that was something that the chief did indicate. He made it sound like suspects. He kept using the plural.
That's right.
That they're not just looking for an individual who happened to drive by and take shots into the crowd. This may have been some event between 2 groups that ended up with just the worst tragedies possible. And we'll also follow. I think people will want to know the other individuals involved who were shot and what their condition is.
Yeah.
He did say non-life threatening, which was a little different than the word we got, which was 3 in critical condition.
And the first we heard, in fact, this hasn't changed, that everybody who was hurt or killed were adults. But when we talked earlier with Garna Mejia, she said that there were children there because it was a family funeral, and so people were there with their families, and that some of them stayed late into the night before they were finally let go. I'm just thinking, if I'm a mom and I have kids with me at a funeral, and I hope I had brought enough snacks and diapers in the diaper bag, right, to stay for an extra 3 hours.
Yeah, and there were something like 200 people there. It was a very
that's
well-attended event. Of course, it may have been part of a community group, but it wasn't even the funeral. I think it was the viewing. I think the funeral is today or tomorrow.
In Los Angeles, I think. Yeah,
somewhat, tangential to it. But, people walking out, just coming out, getting back into their car, and there's a dispute in the parking lot, and suddenly guns come out, and oh man, this was just something, and it was unfolding. You and I were sort of texting each other
at the
time, like, what's going on
in real
here?
time?
Is this really happening here in Salt Lake? And is it involving a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Ward House as a targeted venue?
Yeah, I was worried about that for sure.
We're hearing that's probably not the case, that there's not any ongoing problems for the public right now, and that they're doing the investigation. Well, when we come back after the break, we may follow up with this if more information comes forward. We're also expecting Governor Walz from Minnesota to give us an update on the ICE shooting that occurred there. We'll break away to that too. But when we come back, we're going to talk about some new dietary guidelines that were announced yesterday by RFK Jr. And sort of the group that's affected most will be the kids eating school lunch.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Amanda Dixon. Our top story this hour. Salt Lake Police Chief Brian Redd just gave us an update on the deadly shooting that took place in the parking lot of a Salt Lake City church last night.
The fatally wounded have been identified as Vaya Tulikana Nifo and Sione Vatuve, both residents of Utah. We again express our condolences to the families and those affected by this senseless tragedy. This is still a very active investigation. I do want to make it clear today, while this incident occurred at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints facility, this was not a targeted attack on the LDS faith.
The chief says 5 people remain in the hospital right now. 1 person was treated and released. He says some of the people they've interviewed are not cooperating. So far, there have been no arrests. The Highway Patrol says one of their troopers was involved in a fatal auto-pedestrian crash last night near Lake Mountain Road and Pole Canyon Boulevard. The Utah County Sheriff's Office says a trooper was driving and struck a man who was walking in the area with a woman. The man who was hit died at the scene. The trooper and the woman were not injured. We will have more on this story throughout the day. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 284 right now. We're at 49,280. Coming up, the storm moves out and the haze moves in. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 1032.
We're going to break away to Governor Walz from Minnesota, who's giving an update on the deadly ICE shooting which occurred yesterday in Minneapolis.
To Minnesota, I say thank you. There's strength in numbers, there's power in peace, and what we saw was a beautiful vigil to a life that we're starting to learn more about. And I will let those that want to push out false narratives, to slander or defame Renee Good, Minnesotans will tell her life story. Minnesotans will be there to defend her honor and see this as a human being, not a moment in time or the callous casualness that I've watched some people on TV gloss over what they saw. We've also spent a lot of time talking last 24 hours about accountability. That means no function of government operates with impunity. It means when someone's in a position of authority and they commit any act that impacts our people, there has to be another place to turn to get justice. Checks and balances. Basic idea, the center of the formation of our country. It's the only measure that protects us from the abuse of government or federal overreach or tyrannical government. Yesterday, the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the BCA, spent the day yesterday attempting to get that accountability. We have learned that the Trump administration has now denied the state that ability to participate in the investigation. And I just want to make this as clear as possible to everyone. Minnesota must be part of this investigation. These are nonpartisan career professionals that have spent years building the trust of the community. There's a BCA Force Investigations Unit that was created by the legislature, by the people of Minnesota, to provide an independent, consistent, and trusted mechanism for investigating the use of force incidents involving law enforcement officers. Minnesota has seen our share of these. And what you've seen is, and I have witnessed it during my time, that these professionals have risen to the moment. They are trusted by people. People who are not by inclination trusting of law enforcement or government have come to see the professionals at the BCA as true arbitrators that can get them justice. The unit is the result of years of scrutiny, public engagement, and bipartisan legislative action. Minnesotans have made it clear time and again they expect transparency through this process where a police officer uses deadly force. The BCA, Commissioner, Superintendent Evans, have earned that trust by delivering on that expectation. I think it's clear to everyone as they saw this that it feels now that Minnesota has been taken out of the investigation. It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome. And I say that only because people in positions of power have already passed judgment, from the president to the vice president to Kristi Noem, have stood and told you things that are verifiably false, verifiably inaccurate. They have determined the character of a 37-year-old mom that they didn't even know, don't know. They've determined that the actions are done. I don't know. I've not used inflammatory terms of what happened. I've asked us to find the answers. The only way we find the answers is a thorough investigation by nonpartisan professionals. We've delivered that. We've been able to do it. We've earned the trust. And when I say that, the trust of BCA, and I tell Minnesotans the trust of law enforcement here. Everyone knows, globally, certainly here, that George Floyd, who was murdered a few blocks from this site, tore at the soul of who we were. But we healed. We built back trust. Chief Brian O'Hara came in and took one of the most difficult jobs in America of building back trust in the police force in Minneapolis after Derek Chauvin murdered George Floyd. And he's earned that. And he's level. And he's fair. And he's asking for that. And so, Minnesotans, I will continue to press that we be part of the investigation, that we do the investigation, so that Minnesotans can trust what the outcome is. I don't have a predetermined notion. Yes, I saw the video. Yes, I saw that. But a thorough investigation will see what happened before that. It will take all factors in, and it will come up with a fair and just conclusion. And we will accept that. Very, very difficult for Minnesotans to think in any way this is going to be fair when Kristi Noem was judge, jury, and basically executioner yesterday. That's very, very difficult to think that they were going to be fair. With that being said, Minnesotans, we've risen to the occasion so far, but it's going to get challenging. It's going to be challenging because I feel your anger. The human desire to lash out in this moment is very real. I can tell you that that is the wish of many people, that they fulfill the wish they want to see us turn on one another, turn towards violence rather than peaceful reconciliation, rather than peaceful civil disobedience. And we have to do our best to not play into that. I say this too when I saw yesterday some of the anger, whether it's Minneapolis Police, Minnesota State Patrol, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, Minnesota National Guard. They are there to protect and serve, as it said. They are there to protect Minnesotans. Throwing your anger at them only inflames this situation. And I know some of you were up at the Whipple building this morning, and to the press who are here, I saw some of this myself. Thank you. Continue to have access to every single space. Continue to cover this story. Continue to show the world what's out there. I will say it where our president won't. The press are the defenders of our democracy. You need to be there. But I also tell folks, protect our Minnesotans who are out there and don't turn the anger to them. This is a brazen use of force. They want us to bend the knee. They want us to capitulate. The way we give them what they want is allow them to use this as an excuse to put more troops on the ground. Use them as an excuse to show that these are violent protests. And I also witnessed what I think is going to be a pattern over the next few days and the coming hours, is I saw an individual show up there with the intent to antagonize folks who were peacefully protesting, with a bullhorn to scream at them. And again, the desire to move on that individual is exactly what they want, because our respect for the First Amendment means we will expect and respect all opinions. If this individual is there expressing support for ICE, that's their constitutional right to do so, and they need to be protected. Don't allow that to be a catalyst to create violence. We believe in states' rights. We believe the federal government needs to stay out of this. We believe that the situation has gotten worse and less safe because of their presence. And I will just say there were two incidents yesterday I saw after this that just tore at my soul. I saw an individual at the scene identify themselves as medical personnel, a physician, and asked to provide aid, and an ICE agent said, "I do not care." That lack of humanity was chilling to me. And after this incident happened, and after the tensions rose, ICE agents entered a Minnesota school, causing disruptions at that school. I can't say this strongly enough as governor, as a parent, as a teacher. To our elected representatives, Democrats and Republicans, I beg you, I implore you to tell them to stay out of our schools. This tragedy will be magnified 100-fold if this fight moves into the hallways of our public schools amongst our youth. And they're watching us. They're watching us now, how we respond. So I've got a few simple asks. Let us, the professionals, handle this on Minnesota soil, this investigation. De-escalate this situation by removing yourselves from this situation with these 2,000 agents that were put here. And above all else, stay out of our schools. I'd like to ask you to care, but that might be a step too far for some people. But I know Minnesotans care. So we'll protest peacefully. We will win in courts. We will certainly win in the defense of our democracy because the American people see what's happening here. But the way that we don't win and the way that we lose, if this turns towards violence and allows them to escalate. It cannot happen. So I ask the grass top leaders out there, the faith leaders, the folks who are on the streets, and in many times the true leaders are not the elected officials. They're the folks on the ground. I beg you, implore you, follow those words of the leaders we've had. I had the privilege of serving with John Lewis, and John talked about good trouble. I'm not telling you not to find good trouble, but I asked John many times, I said, John, I don't know if I'd have your self-restraint. Didn't you want to lash out? He said, yes, daily. But he said, I wanted to win this. I wanted to do what right, and I wanted justice to prevail. And to do that, I knew the only way was to not lash out, to not give in to that. So to each and every one of you, we're not going to win this through violence. We're going to win it through justice. We're going to win it through compassion. We're going to win it through Minnesota Nice, and we're going to win it by holding every one of these people accountable as they should for what we've seen on the streets of Minneapolis. With that, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Jacobson to give you a situation update.
Hearing a
thank you,
debrief
Governor.
from the Minnesota authorities about the ICE shooting that occurred yesterday.
Yeah,
That was
Bob Jacobson,
Minnesota Governor
and
Walz is
it
now
is my
turning it
honor
over to
to
his
serve as the Commissioner
Department
of
of Public
Public
Safety
Safety.
Director.
First of all, again, I want to express my sincere condolences to the loved ones of Renee Nicole Good. Someone has lost their life, and that is not something that anyone takes lightly. Minnesotans came out yesterday to express their grief, their frustration, and their anger at this terrible tragedy. I expect that they will continue to come out today. And I want to thank everyone who demonstrated peacefully. This helped honor Renee's memory and gave her family space to mourn. Minnesota's residents and visitors have the right to demonstrate and to exercise their First Amendment rights. I want to remind everyone that there are safe ways to do so. Our goal is to reduce tensions, to avoid conflict, and to maintain a calm environment. As I mentioned yesterday, we recommend the following safe and lawful ways to demonstrate. Please get together peacefully with others in public areas where pedestrians are allowed. March or walk together in pedestrian areas, please, not on the roadways. Make your voice heard through chants, speeches, and displaying signs. And there are a few things I just want to mention very quickly that are unsafe. Because as always, our top priority is public safety, and we cannot allow behaviors that create hazards, threaten public safety, or disrupt emergency services or endanger people nearby. That would include certainly demonstrating on the freeway, walking on highways, throwing objects, setting things on fire, property damage, graffiti, fireworks, illegal weapons, reckless and dangerous driving, or assaultive or aggressive behavior. I know that we all want more definitive answers about that fatal shooting that occurred yesterday. And as we are able to get those answers and dispel rumors and false information, then we can rightfully honor Renee's memory and help her family, loved ones, and our community heal. With that, I'll turn it back to Governor Walz and maybe a few questions.
Please. Right. Esme? I have not. As I said yesterday, I did speak to Secretary Noem and received a lot of talking points. I will note that I asked Secretary Noem how she would have felt if President Biden had sent 2,000 troops into Rapid City, South Dakota, and she said she would have welcomed them. I leave that for the folks of South Dakota to determine. I've not spoken to the president. I would ask him, first of all, the goal here is to make America safe, is what he said. There is no verifiable evidence that any of this is making America safer. I would ask him to de-escalate in the moment, to allow Minnesotans to back up and grieve, to allow this investigation to be played out by the rule of law. I said it again, I have not passed any judgment on this. And to please please, whatever it is, leave Minnesota alone. Earlier this week, I don't know if it was if something he wanted or I've already made it clear. I'm exiting the stage here in a year. But I told him I have a year to continue to do what I love dearly and what I believe I've been good at, making Minnesota a better place to live. The number of calls we got today of parents asking if they should send their kids to school or not. Minneapolis had to make what I believe was the absolute correct decision to cancel school. We have students out of learning today. I would just ask him, I'm not talking anything about border security. I'm not talking anything about what he needs to do on that. None of this is accomplishing either his mission or making us any safer. So just give us a pause. Let us breathe. Look, we're exhausted. We're exhausted as Minnesotans. We're exhausted as Americans. And this relentless assault on Minnesota, for whatever reason, is just cruel now. It has reached cruelness. So please, just give us a break. And if it's me, you're already getting what you want. But leave my people alone. Leave our state alone. And look again and see what's happening. It's not me saying it. You're hearing it from many, many others. So that's what I would say.
Governor Walz and Commissioner Jacobson, is there anything stopping state and local law enforcement from conducting an independent investigation into this, even if the federal government does not want to have you have a joint investigation?
So, great question. We have asked for cooperation from the federal government. We were invited in to do a joint investigation on this initially. We continue to work with the federal government all the time on joint investigations. This is not something new, whether it be with the FBI or other federal law enforcement agencies, so we are accustomed to doing joint investigations. As the governor has mentioned, our Force Investigative Unit within the BCA has a stellar reputation for doing quality investigations, for finding the answers to the questions that people have. There are so many questions out there that I know the public has from watching what's been shown on social media and regular media. And the goal for me would be to provide an investigation, preferably in tandem with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because we work with them all the time, and they are they do have all the evidence in the original investigative notes and reports. We have none of that. They have shared none of that with us. We would welcome the opportunity to jump back in, to do that investigation, use our high-quality investigators from the BCA to be able to do that with them, to find the answers that the public deserves. Without any of that information, or without any of that assistance from the FBI or the federal government, we would be at a loss to be able to initiate and conduct a thorough investigation. For us to be able to do that, it would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, without cooperation from the federal government.
How difficult would it be to file state charges without the cooperation of the FBI?
Let's take a break from that press conference. We'll be right back. We want to break down some of the things that we just learned from that, though. We'll talk about that after this.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Do you want to walk, play pickleball, and enjoy other fun activities to stay healthy, but you can't because of bad feet? Hi, this is Mike, and the Good Feet store wants to help.
I just had difficulty walking. I tried them on in the store, and my foot felt so much better.
Do you keep buying new shoes and inserts with little or no relief?
I tried all kinds of shoes. It was the arch supports that made the difference from the Good Feet store.
Don't let bad feet, knees, or back problems get in the way of staying healthy and having fun.
Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm bowling 3 nights a week.
Get back to doing what you love. At the Good Feet store, we'll personally fit you at high-quality arch supports to maximize your comfort. Stop in the Good Feet store or book your free fitting at goodfeet.com. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Or are they promising you up to 10% growth per year, all for your retirement income? If not, then you need to come to Trajan Wealth. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you have a plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hardworking folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 upfront or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't keep working when you're supposed to be retired, and don't let any financial advisor tell you it's too good to be true. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Annuities, non-advisory products. DBA Trajan Wealth Insurance Solutions. Additional disclosures at trajanwealth.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam, just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
The movie show is at Mickey Couture in Layton this Friday, January 9th from 10 to 1. Join KSL News Radio and get special discounts and savings on your favorite Mickey Couture products.
You're still grooving, still connecting, still loving, still turning up, still thriving. You still got it, but your immune system, it weakens as you age. That's where vaccines come in. They help train and strengthen your immune response to fight off respiratory illnesses like flu, pneumococcal pneumonia, RSV, or COVID-19. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. Book in minutes at vaxassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment? That's a lie. Most timeshares can be bought online for $1. To find out what your timeshare is worth and to cancel it, call us today and we'll send you our timeshare exit kit free with all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley for your free exit info guide. 800-897-4400. That's 800-897-4400.
Progressive knows life takes you in many directions.
Bear right at exit 32, then begin to wonder why you never bought a fish tank. In 1.3 miles, you'll realize you've been mispronouncing epitome your whole life. At the roundabout, you will remember you said something at dinner you wish you hadn't, and will think about it for decades. You have arrived at your destination, but it turns out there really is no destination, and life just keeps going.
Wherever life takes you, protect your home and auto with a bundle from Progressive. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime.
Our entry-level data plans start at just $20 a month. And for a limited time, switch and get your second month free. Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com or a store near you and get your second month free today. Plans include $5 credit for auto-pay and e-billing. See site for additional details.
A 15-year-old girl who chewed through a rope to escape a serial killer.
I used my front teeth to saw on the rope in my mouth.
The killer prowled the Pacific Northwest in the early 70s. He's been convicted of murdering 2 young women, but suspected of many more.
Maybe there's another one in that area.
Follow and binge all episodes of Stolen Voices of Dole Valley, available now wherever you listen.
The new Inside Sources.
We just heard an interesting press conference from Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and his Public Safety Commissioner talking about the ICE shooting yesterday and the ongoing investigation. And something came out during that press conference, Holly, that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we had always assumed that the Minnesota State Police, it's called the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, BCA, was going to work hand in hand with the FBI in investigating this, which would be what always happens. And that's what happened in the Charlie Kirk shooting. It's what happens in virtually everything where the FBI gets called in. They still like to work with local law enforcement, and they always have a good relationship with them. In this case, that seems to have been severed for whatever reason, and there was some concern on behalf of the governor and his commissioner that the Minnesota State Police are not going to be involved and not even going to be given any information about it. They said that they don't even have the reports or the evidence or anything from the FBI. That does create a problem in the sense that the public will probably wonder if the investigation is biased.
Yeah.
But where if you have both sides, both state and federal, looking at it hand in hand, and they come out with a joint statement, you can assume, and I'm sure the FBI will do a good job, but you can assume if both state and federal authorities are involved, that it's not going to be bias between one side or the other. Because if you think about it, what's happening here is the alleged shooter is a member of a federal law enforcement agency, ICE. So you would expect that federal agents wouldn't necessarily investigate one of their own.
Yeah,
you know
you pointed that out, but what's interesting is part of this press conference was the governor saying, please let us be involved. We are professionals, right? All of our people are trained. They know what they're doing, and that they are and would be professional. And Kristi Noem, as you mentioned, she accused the state of, quote, not doing their work after they already said you can't be involved in this, which was today. They told him today. So it's been less than 24 hours, and they said, well, you're not doing your job.
Yeah, and he's also accused her and the Trump administration of saying things that he says are verifiably false.
Yeah.
Not the least of which was that the shooter was injured, that he was
right, and had to go to the hospital.
Right. It looked like he wasn't even touched by the vehicle, at least from what we saw.
Well, at least from what we have learned so far is he didn't go to the hospital for sure. So one of the things I think we also learned from this is that Governor Walz was begging ICE to please not go into schools, right? Which that is terrifying. And they shut down the schools today, and I think for tomorrow, because they're worried about safety of the kids in school. But it was it the public safety commissioner, is that who said, was the other speaker?
Right.
He also said, look, we support First Amendment rights. Here are things that you can do. Here are things you should not do.
Yeah, and what you should not do is cause protests and riots and things that are
right.
going to cause
Don't
problems.
light anything on fire.
Right.
He said don't protest in the middle of the freeway, right, which makes sense to me. I mean, there are several other things, but really really interesting. And I guess the unspoken part of it was, let's not escalate this. I mean, I think Governor Walz has already said that several times. He also said he is not very confident that there will be a fair outcome if Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension is not involved.
Is not involved in this. And I think that there's reason to believe that that's true, that the public's not going to feel comfortable that there is a free and fair investigation of this if, in fact, their own law enforcement agency is not involved in this. You know, he also said, just leave Minnesota alone. And he said something that I thought was really interesting, which was, you got me. I'm done.
Right.
I'm
right.
just serving my term.
Yep.
If your goal was to get rid of Tim Walz, you did it.
Yeah.
But I'm going to finish my term. Let me do that and leave me alone. And he did say he's not spoken to the president, but this is what he would ask him.
And to please, whatever it is, leave Minnesota alone. I would just ask him, I'm not talking anything about border security. I'm not talking anything about what he needs to do on that. None of this is accomplishing either his mission or making us any safer. So just give us a pause. Let us breathe. Look, we're exhausted. We're exhausted as Minnesotans. We're exhausted as Americans. And this relentless assault on Minnesota, for whatever reason, is just cruel now.
And, you know, this event occurred within just blocks of the George Floyd killing.
Yeah.
And he talked
right.
about that as well and how that was investigated and ultimately handled. Wow, that was a really interesting press conference. When we come back, we're going to talk about Utah Democrats and their chance at maybe getting a seat in Congress next year. This year. Stay with us.
Yeah, this year.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. And it is developing news. Police have identified the two men shot and killed during a funeral service on Redwood Road last night. Here is Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd.
The fatally wounded have been identified as Vaya Tulikananifo, 46, and Sione Vatuve, 38 years of age, both residents of Utah.
Red says the shooting happened outside a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house. He says a fight broke out, and this was not a targeted attack.
There are people involved in this incident who have been less than cooperative, and we're still working to identify all who were involved in the incident and their roles in the matter.
Chief Red says they do not believe there is any current threat to the public. Our top national story this hour, protesters continue to clash with federal officials in Minneapolis following yesterday's fatal shooting of a woman by an ICE officer. State officials now say the feds have blocked them from investigating the death. Federal officials say the officer acted in self-defense, but witnesses and Minnesota officials say the woman who was shot and killed was not a threat. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 318 points, the S&P is up 4 points. And coming up, snow showers moving south. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 11:01.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
We're at that time of year where we're thinking about a fresh start for your body and your mind, and those two are really connected, and I learned that when I started my SOTA weight loss journey. I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months.
Yeah, I did 37 pounds in about 3 months, and that was coming up on 4 years ago now. I feel so great knowing that I still now have access to a nutritionist anytime I need to text her.
It's a lot more simple than you think, and it fits right into your real life. They tailored it to my specific needs. I get up super early, so they said, okay, we're going to have you eat at this time. We're going to have you eat these things. That's what I needed. I need guidance. I don't do this well on my own.
Yeah, me
but
too.
I had great success.
12 months from now, you're either going to wish you had started SOTA, or you're going to be really proud of yourself for doing this.
So take advantage of their promotional offer right now. You join, a partner joins for free. You get 2 transformations for the price of 1.
Don't let January be so stressful that you don't do the most important thing for your health, SOTA weight loss.
Go and see the proof yourself at SOTAweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com, because SOTA is, say it with me, state of the art.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 1-877-CARS for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation's super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now, 1-877-CARS for Kids. That's Cars with a K to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's carsforkids.org.
It's the dawning of a brand new year, and NPS is here to make sure that new year is wonderful by helping you, all of our families, buy at great, great prices. You know, each and everything in the store, any given day, is 20 to 70% off. And then they have additional sales. They change all the time. New things are coming into each of the stores, and you can save even more at NPS. And of course, if you're looking to eat a little healthier this year, NPS has the great produce. They have things that you are looking for to make sure your family eats well and eats healthy. And of course, there are many things for your home as well at greatly reduced prices. NPS, it is the nice place to shop and the nice place to save. Each of their locations, 2 in Salt Lake City on Empire, 1 in Orem, and 1 in Layton. NPS for the brand new year.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. 4 new Salt Lake branches to love where you bank. Here's Ricky Meese.
A couple of crashes in Utah County. One is going to be at the on-ramp to northbound I-15 near 8th North in Orem. And we also have a crash northbound Redwood Road 2100 North in Lehigh. That's been moved over to the shoulder. In Salt Lake County, restrictions in place for both Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. The Good Feet store, supporting you with comfort no matter what the day brings. Find the location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A high of 37 degrees today with snow showers moving south. Highs will be in the mid to upper 30s over the next few days. Right now, it is 37 and showering. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
We talk a lot about the approval ratings of our leaders, and they're not very good right now, Holly, nationally. But it's not a specific to one party or the other. It seems like nationally the public has a dim view of Democrats as well as it does Republicans. Utah Democrats, I think, though, have some reason for optimism.
Yeah.
Not the least of which is the redistricting that has occurred and the fact that there is at least a fighting chance, maybe even more than that, that we could get a Democratic representative here in Utah.
Yeah, I think that issue, right, is still a little bit up in the air because I know that the legislature is appealing to the Utah Supreme Court to see if they can void that decision. But for now, what we have is a district that would be pretty heavily concentrated in Salt Lake City, which lends itself to electing a Democrat. And, you know, one of the things that's interesting is even though nationally the Democratic Party is not looked on very favorably overall, I think there's some interesting ways that the Utah Democrats could differentiate themselves from the National Party. And somebody who can speak to that is Scott Howell. He's the former Senate Minority Leader, I think, in Utah, right, and a Democrat and a friend of the show. Thanks for joining us, Scott.
Hey, Holly and Greg, thank you for the invitation. Happy New Year. I really appreciate being on with you. And I think you nailed it right there, Holly, when you said there is a difference between the national Democrats and our local Democrats.
Tell us about that. What is it that's different about Utah Democrats?
Well, I think one thing that makes us extraordinary, and I can do this from my own lived experience, and it's showing me that people don't want fights. You hear all the time that we're going to, nationally, we're going to fight. What Utahns want are results. And I've seen firsthand in Utah that means focusing on solutions that improve family lives, not slogans that deepen the division. You know, after I was first elected, I was gerrymandered out of my seat my very first year, and they put me in a very strong Republican district. And I whined and cried, and finally a senator put his arm around me and said, "Quit your pity-patty party and get out there and tell people who you are." And it was interesting that I went out and I didn't bash the Republicans. I didn't bash them and saying they gerrymandered me. We just talked about solutions, and I explained to them why I was now in this district, and I won. I won big time, and this was against a great senator and a friend of mine who was ecclesiastically connected to the new district where I was, and we won. And what that showed me is that you when you go out and you have a positive attitude and you talk about the issues and you're really willing to work across lines, solving problems and leading with positivity, it makes all the difference in the world. And again, I just hate that word fight. And I think if Democrats are not careful, and the article quoted quite a few different candidates saying, we want to get in there and go toe-to-toe and fight. No, we want to go in and we want to solve. We want to be problem solvers. We want to focus on solutions. We want the slogans that don't deepen division, but what they unite. And I'll tell you, Democrats have got one of the greatest opportunities in the whole world right now to win in all legislative districts. Now, this one that you're talking about particularly is a little more blue, but I'm of the belief that if you have the right candidate with the right message, that people will vote for him. And Holly, you're a great example of that. When you served in the legislature, it wasn't exactly smooth sailing down in your area. I remember very well some of those conversations that we had. And so for me, I think that Democrats have this great opportunity to go out and show that we're socially conservative, we're community focused, and we're pragmatic.
Thanks for that, Scott. You're very kind. I also wanted to ask you, this sets up really an interesting primary among a lot of Democrats, and we don't see that very often in the state of Utah, at least. Can you just weigh in on your opinion about these multiple candidates who have to get through a primary before they can be on the general election ballot? Is it going to be really bloody and leave the person, the last person standing kind of injured?
Well, this is something that's not unique to the Democratic Party.
I know.
My Republican colleagues face the same thing. And thank goodness for signature gathering. That's all I can say on that. Because, the common Utah citizen just wants to have good public policy. And most of them don't have the time to go to the convention or starting actually in their caucus meetings as the process moves up. And sometimes you get delegates who are far to the left and far to the right, and they make up those primaries, and they are challenging. But I also know that having a primary, and I experienced one of those when I ran for the U.S. Senate, and I ran against a Democrat, and it made me better. It kind of honed the saw. And fortunately for me, I was able to make it out of the primary. And I think civility has to be the word for both parties, Democrat and Republican. And please, just listen to the candidate that doesn't feed you the red meat. Look for the candidate that feeds you the solutions for education, for public transportation, for economic development. And affordability is going to be a big thing. I promise you this. What I'm seeing from my experience and being out in the community and talking with different groups, they are very concerned about affordability, housing, groceries. And I'll tell you a second issue that is just bubbling up really quick is water. And not only water for the Great Salt Lake, but water to have the ability to continue in a new economic world of AI. And, these data centers, they just eat up water like you wouldn't believe. And so, but to remain economically viable and for our opportunities for our children, we have to figure out how we can combine that and make that all work together. And that's really a message to both sides of the aisle.
Hey, Scott, we've only got about a minute left yet, but what does it tell you as a leader of the Democratic Party that so many people are already throwing their name into the hat for this newly created legislative district? Because one name came out early, and that was our former Congress member, and we would have thought that he would be the front runner, maybe just had a smooth sailing, but it's not the case.
And thank goodness that we have a opportunity for all citizens to have a voice. And when you see the 5 or 6 that are there now, there's such a vast difference in all of them. We have everything from LGBTQ oriented to what I'd call a conservative blue dog Democrat. And Greg, I think it really says that we're a country that works and we allow everyone to participate. Now, the big question is, Democrats shouldn't be talking about fighting. We should be talking about working together. We succeed when we focus on the issues. And as I mentioned, affordable health care, economic opportunity, public safety, those things matter to every Utah family. And I think that's what delegates and people who go to the primary, that's what's going to appeal to that voter. And look, the elephant in the room is very clear. We have to have moderate Republicans to make any opportunity for Democrats to win. And our message must reflect those Utah values. We care about strong families, community support, fiscal responsibility, serving our neighbors. I mean, when we do this, and this is, again, from my lived experience, we build a coalition that includes moderate Republicans, independents, and Democrats alike.
Thank you so much. That was Scott Howell, who joined us today to talk about Democrats' opportunity in Utah. And speaking of healthcare, which is one of the things he mentioned, a bipartisan House coalition used the discharge petition process to force a vote on extending healthcare subsidies for another 3 years. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
Between all the holiday parties,
weekend tailgates,
and family get-togethers,
we've been overindulging a little more than usual over the holidays. But now, we are starting the new year off on a healthier note by taking Active Liver supplements from New Nordic every day.
Active Liver contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract, all natural ingredients that help protect the liver so that it can protect you from toxins. It's like giving my body a daily detox. I've never felt better, and my energy is through the roof.
And my doctor is already impressed with how much better my numbers are looking. So if better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief.
Active Liver is available online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com. Or pick some up today at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meijer Grocery, are now available at Wegmans. New year, new you, new Nordic.
Start your new year in a new ride. Performance Automotive in Bountiful is wrapping up the year with deals you just can't miss. Looking for a rugged Ford, a reliable Toyota, or a stylish Honda? Score incredible savings and financing options that fit your budget. But hurry, these end-of-year deals won't last. Come in for a test drive at Performance Ford, Performance Toyota, and Performance Honda, or online at performancebountiful.com. Performance Automotive in Bountiful, driven to be the best.
Women go through many changes in their lives. And we believe each milestone matters. That every new candle represents another step in your story. Our healthcare experts support women at every stage of life. Because each chapter deserves to be celebrated. Women's health. Nurture what's next. Find care near you at mountain.commonspirit.org. Common Spirit Health. Human kindness lives here.
Every January, Duke's Jewelers celebrates another year serving the Springville community. And this year, they're doing it in a big way. It's the anniversary sale. And for 3 days only, January 22nd through 24th, all jewelry in the store is 50% off. That's right, half off everything in the case. Diamonds, gold, colored gemstones, signature pieces, everyday favorites. If it sparkles, it's on sale. And that's not all. For those dreaming up something one of a kind, special orders, custom design projects, and all watches are 25% off. Duke's Jewelers is proud to be a fourth-generation family-run business, and this sale is the Duke's way of saying thank you for supporting local, choosing Main Street, and trusting Duke's Jewelers with your most meaningful moments. But don't wait. These savings last just 3 days. January 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Visit Duke's Jewelers on Main Street in Springville and shop the biggest sale of the entire year. Duke's Jewelers. Elevate every moment. Some exclusions apply.
When you're making resolutions for the new year, have you ever thought of making a resolution to get a new metabolism?
So that your body is burning fat more naturally. I used to have a terrible metabolism because I didn't know what to eat or when to eat it until I did Soda weight loss. I let go of 37 pounds, and now my metabolism works for me.
I let go of 70 pounds in 5 months, and it was so nice because once that metabolism changes, the things that affected you more regularly don't affect you anymore. And those are the things that I learned from my nutritionist as I was going along and even afterward. It's so helpful. They taught me how to be successful for life.
You can call and speak to a nutritionist at Soda Weight Loss today at 866-800-SODA, S-O-T-A. That's 866-800-SODA.
Or you can go to sodaweightloss.com and see the hundreds of before and after pictures. And right now is the best time to do it because if you join now, your partner joins for free, so you get 2 transformations for the price of 1.
It's 866-800-SODA.
Because soda is, say it with me, Amanda, state of the art.
At Trio South Ogden, the best years aren't behind you. They're right here. Discover independent living services that embrace aging as an opportunity to lean in, not step back. To pursue passions, not retire from purpose. Here, life is bright, colorful, and unapologetically fun. Because aging doesn't mean changing who you are. It means having more time to be exactly who you are. Schedule your tour today at trioSouthOgden.com.
Inside Sources.
It was just months ago we were having a government shutdown, which was based in very large part, Holly, by the Affordable Care Act subsidies and whether or not those would be extinguished. Of course, Democrats ultimately relented. The government shutdown was ended. Those subsidies were set to expire. But
They
now
did
there's-
expire.
Yeah. And now there's been what we call a discharge petition to do what?
To force a vote on extending those subsidies for 3 years.
So we're going back to maybe at least revisiting those.
Yeah, so this is we talked about a discharge petition. What's interesting about this, in fact, I've been asked about this, is this something new? It's not new. It's been around since 1910, the ability to do a discharge petition, and it's just a tool that has been used a lot more often recently. So what that means is you have to get 218 signatures on a piece of paper that basically says we are basically demanding a vote on this issue, XYZ issue. So we know that it was used, a discharge petition on the Epstein files, the release of the Epstein files. And even though there were only 218 people who signed onto the discharge petition, I think there was only one no vote in either the House or the Senate, and it was one House member who voted against it. Otherwise, it went through unanimously.
So what's happening now that's got this discharge petition in the crosshairs as it relates to the Affordable Care Act subsidies?
So members of the House wanted to have a discussion, and they asked Mike Johnson, let's put this up to a vote. Let's talk about extending subsidies, and he refused to put it up for a vote. He didn't want to have a vote on it. So they did this discharge petition. There were four Republicans who signed on to it before the Christmas break, actually, and now they're going to have the vote. It's I think it's scheduled for today. And what's interesting, right, is part of it is a pushback against leadership. Part of it is they just feel like they just cannot get anything done, and so they're now using this tool. And that's one of the things that Marjorie Taylor Greene, who just stepped down out of the House, said, we cannot get anything done. So we're basically resorting to using this discharge petition to get votes actually taken.
Okay, and then the House will get together and talk about extending subsidies to the Affordable Care Act.
Yep.
And assuming that it goes along the same lines as those that voted for the discharge petition, which would make sense, you might think that would pass.
It will pass, right? But remember, it's a bicameral body, which means there's two different parts of the legislature. So you've got a House and a Senate. It probably won't pass the Senate in its current form, but several lawmakers believe this is going to be a good starting point for some discussion, right?
It's not going to get past the president either, is it?
You know, it's
Even if it did get
interesting.
past the Senate.
I think it's interesting that President Trump has said multiple times that Republicans need to be maybe less dogmatic on extending these subsidies. It's really interesting. And even at the GOP conference thing that they were holding on January 6th, he said, look, I don't think a lot of people care about healthcare, which I disagree. But he said, you know, here are some things we need to do, right? We need to fix this and have a Republican solution.
And he's also looking ahead to midterm elections.
For sure.
And recognizing, as the Democrats have for some time, that's an issue that the public wants to put at the forefront, at least one of the top issues, because it affects so many people.
Yeah. And, you know, look, I was wrong in saying there were 4 Democrats who signed the discharge petition, but now there have been 4 Republicans who signed the discharge petition. There are now 9 who are saying they're in favor of extending these subsidies. And so I think the idea that it's going to pass the House, I think that's very solid. And then what's interesting, right, is you have this ongoing discussion, because we know that when those credits expired on December 31st, in fact, we've talked with Utah's insurance commissioner, and he said some people could see their insurance increase as many as 7 times what they're paying. That's 700%, right? So 7 times. If you're paying $100 a month, now you're paying $700.
So we've got Republicans in some districts where this is apparently a hot button issue as well, and their constituents are saying, "Hey, wait a minute."
That's right. And you know, we have a texter that reminds us that when we're talking about these subsidies, we're talking about COVID era subsidies. There are also other subsidies that are not being done away with. It's the COVID era subsidies that were set to expire. They have expired, but Democrats and now a growing number of Republicans are saying, I think we should extend these COVID era subsidies. And they have a lot of people in districts that are saying this is a huge issue for me, a huge issue.
Yeah, so the Affordable Care Act had been in place, but during COVID, as I understand it, there was a push to to make it more available to more people.
Additional
by
subsidies.
having subsidies.
Yeah.
That was passed by a fairly close margin, but it had a sunset clause, which
That's right.
ended on December 31st.
That's right. That's right. So there's this discussion about using a discharge petition. There's really two discussions, I think. So one of them is extending these Affordable Care Act subsidies that were put in place during COVID. But the other discussion is this use of the discharge petition. So I mentioned to you, this is something that was put in place in 2010. I'm sorry, I'm so off. It's 1910, right? In 1910, but it just wasn't successfully used very often. It was used to pass the Export-Import Bank reauthorization in 2015. And then we saw just a kind of a big jump in using these discharge petitions recently, including on releasing the Epstein files. So been around for a long time. And some people wanted to get around, like President Roosevelt. They wanted to get around some of the other presidents from a long time ago and use the discharge petition then. And then it just kind of fell by the wayside for many decades.
I can understand why it's not used very often, because the speaker would normally have the support of his group and he wouldn't need to have a discharge petition. But every once in a while, the speaker needs to get a little shove, needs to get a little push.
Yeah, and it's not just the speaker, but you're right. I mean, Mike Johnson has been really in lockstep with President Trump on most issues. But on this particular issue, it seems like President Trump is more open to those types of discussions. But just this morning, there was a press conference with House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who spoke about this.
Well, it's important to take a step forward today, a meaningful step, which is being done in a bipartisan way. Every single House Democrat, joined by a handful of our Republican colleagues, and we're thankful for the bipartisan partnership that is underway. We have to get that done. There's still 2 additional votes today before we can get the Affordable Care Act tax credit extension legislation over the finish line. So we're focused on that right now and have every confidence that Leader Schumer and Senate Democrats are going to do all that they need to do to work to get the legislation over the finish line.
Do we know, Holly, if there are Republican senators who, not by name or anything, who may be inclined to jump onto this as well?
Yeah, I think there are. And you always look at the people who are vulnerable or they live in swing states, right, where it could go one way or the other. Typically, those are the ones who will support issues that their constituents really care about. Look, I wanted to tell you, so this is a familiar story to us, I think. Mike Johnson now is considering putting additional constraints on using discharge petitions, I think because he doesn't like being outflanked by his body. Let me give you some numbers. In 1935, 673 discharge petitions have been filed in the House, and 631 failed to get the 218 votes, right? 42 of them did. Of those, 21 were passed by the House and just 7 were signed into law, which is an overall success rate of 1%, right? But then, like I said, we've seen a recent increase of using this as a tool.
What could he do? Make it so that you need more than just a simple majority?
That's a good question. So certainly they could do House rules where there's a higher threshold for that. You're right that's one way to do that, and just say, I don't know, I'm going to pick a number out of a hat, but maybe you need 300 instead of 218. Right? It's something like that. I think the reason it feels a little familiar is there's some big discussion on Utah's Capitol Hill about making citizens' initiatives higher and making the bar higher there. So I think there's a little bit of similarities here.
Yeah, well, stay tuned because I think there's going to be a vote on that today, correct?
Yep, that's right. They're supposed to have. In fact, Hakeem Jeffries said there's actually going to be 2 votes.
There we go.
All right, look, RFK Jr. came out with new dietary guidelines yesterday and flipped the food pyramid that we're familiar with, kind of on its head. But the group that's going to be affected the most are going to be the kids eating school lunch. We really will talk about that when we come back.
11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott, KSL's top story this hour. And it is breaking news. The Utah legislature has filed an appeal with the state Supreme Court over the congressional district maps. The wording of the appeal is very brief, just saying the legislature is asking for final judgment in the case involving a district court judge deciding on the state's congressional maps. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The Senate has voted to approve a resolution that would prevent the further use of U.S. military action in Venezuela.
The measure, crafted under the 1973 War Powers Act, aims to prevent the president from using the U.S. military in Venezuela going forward without congressional authorization. Co-sponsor California Democrat Adam Schiff.
If we don't stand up, not just for our branch of government, but for the American people, there is no telling and no stopping what comes next.
But even if both houses were to send the resolution to the White House, aides say President Trump would veto it. It would then take a two-thirds vote in both houses to enact the restriction into law. Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Washington.
Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 280 points, the S&P is flat. And coming up, temperatures creep upwards. KSL weather's next. KSL News Time 11:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
All right, Utah, this is your shot. KSL and Ivory Homes are teaming up to send you to the big game in Santa Clara on February 8th. To qualify, just stop by any Ivory model home between now and January 31st. Walk through and ask about Ivory's super low loan rate discounts and free upgrade packages. Start now at ivoryhomes.com/super. That's ivoryhomes.com/super.
Febreze. It's a classic odor tale. You fried fish for dinner, cleaned up, but the smell is still in the house. And the neighbors are coming over for game night. They're on their way. And then you spray Febreze Air Mist. Febreze Air starts working instantly to fight even your toughest odors, so you go from fish to fresh like that. Now all you have to worry about is Pam cheating at charades.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la. I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
My friend Joey loves to use old familiar sayings.
You know what they say?
The problem is,
don't look at a gift horse, cause you can't make them drink.
He gets a lot of them mixed up.
People who live in glass houses,
here it comes,
shouldn't cry over spilt milk.
There are also a lot of sayings in the financial world, like, you'll pay lower taxes in retirement. But for many people, it's just not true. You may have done a great job saving in that 401k or IRA, but Uncle Sam is ready to grab a big portion of that money. The team at Galileo Wealth Management can help with strategies that you can start now to lower your tax bill in the future. More for you and less for Uncle Sam.
Or as they say, an apple a day is worth two in the bush.
Get the facts on your tax bill in retirement. Call Galileo Wealth today at 385-247-7000. It's 385-247-7000 or online at GalileoWealth.com.
And remember, a stitch in time keeps the doctor away. Does, you know.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU, people helping people. Love where you bank. Here's Ricky Meeks.
In Taylorsville, we do have inside lanes blocked due to a crash eastbound 4700 South. As you're approaching I-215's West Belt, looks like they're trying to open up some of those lanes. And in parts of Salt Lake County, we do have some precipitation causing some slower speeds northbound on the West Belt from the 201 junction to I-80 and northbound I-15, Murray to 2100 South. Common Spirit, hospitals, clinics, and caregivers, all connected to advanced health care in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Healthcare with Human Kindness is here. Hello, Human Kindness. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The snow continues in some parts of the Salt Lake Valley in the heart of Utah County. Highs reached the upper 30s today and will steadily rise from the mid-30s to low 40s next week. Right now it is 35 and showering. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com for Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, this is interesting news, but the Department of Health and Human Services, along with the Food and Drug Administration, are touting new dietary guidelines that they claim will promote better health and lower healthcare costs for Americans. ABC's Michelle Franzen has more.
The Trump administration unveiled new dietary guidelines emphasizing protein, whole grains, and healthy fats, and for the first time calls out the dangers of highly processed foods. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on the mission.
Today, our government declares war on added sugar.
The plan puts a larger emphasis on whole milk and cheese as well as red meats. Dietary experts say multiple studies have shown that an increase in red meat consumption over fish and poultry consumption has led to negative health outcomes like colorectal cancer and cardiovascular disease. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
And here's more from Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy.
The new framework centers on protein and healthy fats, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. Whole grains outperform refined carbohydrates. Added sugars, especially sugar-sweetened beverages, drive metabolic disease. And today our government declares war on added sugar.
I guess that's it. Look, I want to talk about the food pyramid. So do you remember when you were in school, you learned about the food pyramid and, you know, how it was you were supposed to really cut down on fats and the base was like whole grains, I think.
Bread, I think, yeah.
And then they went to like the plate image, and so you were supposed to do a couple of these and one of these, and it was like those divided plates. Well, this is kind of an upside down one with like red meat is not something that has been touted before or something like that. Was something you should have limited, and now he's saying increase it, and here's one way to do it, right, is by having red meat. That's interesting. There's some really just some interesting things with this pyramid, or the upside down pyramid, I guess. But one of the things that strikes me is when Michelle Obama was the first lady, she wanted to do make school lunches healthy again. And there are some similarities between what she was proposing, and there are also some differences with what she's proposing versus what RFK Jr. is proposing.
Yeah, and it seems to be a push more toward proteins, not necessarily. And he talks about whole grains too. I mean, he's very much concerned about processed food and its effect on our young people.
Yeah, but so is Michelle Obama, right? So one of the things that's different, for example, is that Michelle Obama was pushing for low-fat or non-fat milk, and RFK Jr. is pushing for whole-fat milk. And we know for sure with younger children, at least baby age, that you need extra fat for brain development. That's true. I think it's interesting, too, that we have this. We had a huge pushback from the right when Michelle Obama was saying, you know, hey, I want to make lunches healthier. In fact, I pulled up an article from the Heritage Foundation from 2014, and she said Heritage Foundation called it new and disastrous school meal standards implementing the Healthy Hunger-Free Kids Act. And so that it was totally inappropriate for the government to weigh in on school lunches like this. Well, they're remarkably silent on RFK Jr.'s recommendations.
So as this occurs, as this takes place, what does this do to local schools? I mean, are these guidelines, are these rules, or how does this affect what our schools?
I think they're guidelines, and one of the things I think that is difficult is there's a whole pipeline, and I don't even understand it all the way myself for sure. There's a whole distribution system about how schools order food, where they get the food from, how it gets there. And we had a conversation earlier last year when we were talking about what it's like for school lunches. And they say they're already trying to get to these healthy food things, right? They've already moved away from using highly processed foods. In fact, I would consider macaroni and cheese highly processed, but the color in mac and cheese is not from artificial food coloring. It's from natural sources, turmeric.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt pointed out the impact these changes could actually have on healthcare costs.
When these guidelines are followed, Americans will be saving themselves thousands of dollars. If we want to cut healthcare costs in our country, we must become a healthier country.
I think there's no disagreement with that. right? I think it's good to be healthier. One of the things that's interesting is I remember seeing numbers. I don't remember now what the numbers are, but the United States of America has a lot of people who are significantly overweight. However, those numbers have been decreasing a lot recently, and people are pointing to weight loss drugs like Ozempic and Wegovy as some of the reasons why, but our obesity rate has gone down.
Yeah, no surprise that sort of a cut back on processed food, cut back on sugar makes sense. I think everyone agrees with that. A little bit of a surprise that, hey, let's bring more meat into the diet.
Yeah.
But those of us that try to think of ourselves as athletic or, taking care of ourselves, always go to protein, the other sources of protein besides red meat. But it is a way to get protein into a diet.
I used to talk to pregnant women about being able to increase their protein intake. And I would say that Americans are pretty low, generally speaking, on their protein intake, and that all of us could do better. Protein is the building block for our cells, and so there's lots of different ways. You don't have to go to red meat to get protein, although that is one source.
Sure.
You can combine rice and legumes or, rice and beans, those types of things, and you can get a complete protein that way. But again, it's really his focus, RFK Jr.'s focus, is on eliminating those highly processed foods and artificial food dyes, focusing on whole foods, changing the fat guidelines. His new dietary guidelines he says would, quote, end the war on saturated fats. So the keto folks are super happy with that.
Yeah.
And then there's less federal mandate and more flexibility for schools. But again, part of it is that pipeline. How do you get that food into the schools through the distribution channels that they have to use?
Yeah, and are our schools going to adopt it, and is it going to be expensive? Because sometimes, if you think about some of the things that they are thinking of doing, processed foods you can store on your shelves longer.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy things as fresh,
and it's cheaper, right? It's cheaper. These highly processed foods. So when I was feeding a gigantic family, we went to the carbs, we went to the pastas, because they're filling. And they're a lot less expensive than going to organically grown fruits and vegetables, although we did have a garden and things. But it's also why I was 80 pounds heavier than I am now.
So is the pyramid no more?
It's kind of flipped, right? It's an upside down pyramid. He does have, there is a pyramid, but it has at the top, it's got protein, dairy, healthy fats, and then fruits and vegetables. And then it goes all the way down to the least common thing you should eat according to this new pyramid are whole grains.
Which used to be, I think, the most.
That used to be the base.
Or at least breads were, right.
Yeah,
whole grains are a little different. He's
well, they're
subdefining.
showing the picture of bread.
Right, yeah. Subdefining that category.
Again, keto folks are very happy with this. Look, and I think there's no disagreement that we should eat healthier as Americans, right? I read a really interesting book one time, and it was by Barbara Kingfisher, but it was all about a 1-year experiment to eat locally, right? Meaning they gave themselves the exception of coffee because they didn't grow coffee in their area and they didn't want to give that up. But they were really, really focused on what can we eat in our locale in 1 year. And I just remember being fascinated by that book because it was a lot harder than they thought it was going to be. No bananas, no oranges, right? Just imagine if we focused on eating what we can grow in Utah. Lots of great stuff, but avocados, oranges, not on the list. Grapefruit,
Bananas,
any citrus,
right, yeah.
bananas,
Right.
right? None of those are on the list.
Don't see any banana trees in Utah if you
Nope.
drive around.
No, you don't.
Especially this time of year.
No.
Interesting. Our Health and Human Services Secretary has done a lot, and we didn't even talk about vaccines, but that was another.
We've talked about that on a different day.
Right, yeah.
So, look, we've had a really busy day of news today, and we're going to recap what we've learned about the shooting at an LDS meeting house last night in Salt Lake, and we're also going to talk about some stand-up moments from this day in history, including some fires. We'll be right back.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most, thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
With the new IHOP value menu, $6 is all it takes to go to your happy plates, where stacks of pancakes with bacon and eggs are just $6 every day. French toast, sausage, and eggs are, you guessed it, $6. And fluffy omelets come with a side of pancakes and only cost $6. Go to your happy plates every day at IHOP. $7 in some locations. Available every day for a limited time at participating restaurants in the U.S. Hours may vary. No substitutions. Not valid with other discounts or promotions. Prices may vary.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Green Bike, Utah's nonprofit bike share, provides affordable, convenient, and sustainable transportation. It connects residents to jobs, transit, and recreation while promoting healthier lifestyles, reducing emissions, and supporting a vibrant community across the Wasatch Front. Operations Director Cameron Arellano joins us with more.
Green Bike bridges people and places by providing an affordable, healthy, locally focused bike share system. We help reduce vehicle congestion, improve Utah's air quality, and strengthen community connection. Our vision is a healthier, more connected Utah where everyone, regardless of income or background, has access to safe, reliable, and affordable transportation. Green Bike operates in both Salt Lake City and Ogden with 50 stations and over 400 bikes in Salt Lake and 14 stations and over 100 bikes in Ogden. In addition, about 35% of our fleet is electric, making it easier to replace short car trips with fast, clean, active travel. We've seen nearly 130% growth in trips over the last 2 years, and we're planning major system expansions in 2026 to meet rising demand. Through January, riders can get 25% off annual memberships, bringing the price from $75 to $56 by using promo code WINTER25.
Green Bike improves Utah communities by expanding mobility and creating safer streets. Their programs encourage active transportation and healthier, more connected neighborhoods. Learn more at greenbikeutah.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with a sun protection factor, or SPF, of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. UVA rays age the skin, UVB rays burn, and both cause cancer. But the perfect sunscreen doesn't count if you use it wrong. Don't need sunscreen on a cloudy day? Wrong. 80% of UV rays still get through the haze. Only use sunscreen at the beach? Nope. Anytime you're outside, UV rays attack the skin, so you need protection. And you have to reapply sunscreen every 2 hours. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
And expanded Inside Sources.
I think a lot of us were really rocked last night, Holly, by the shooting that occurred in Salt Lake City. It was at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints meeting house around 7:30 last evening over on Redwood Road. It wasn't related to the fact that it was a church by any means, but there was a shooting that occurred after a funeral or funeral services were letting out. People were gathering in the parking lot there. There seemed to be some sort of a shooting that took place. Salt Lake City Police Chief Brian Redd announced the names of those that were killed. We didn't know that until his press conference, which was just about 2 hours ago.
The fatally wounded have been identified as Vaya Tulikana Nifo and Sione Vatuve, both residents of Utah. We again express our condolences to the families and those affected by this senseless tragedy. This is still a very active investigation. I do want to make it clear today that while this incident occurred at a Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints facility, this was not a targeted attack on the LDS faith.
And I think Salt Lake City has made very clear, the mayor's office, the chief of police, that they are looking at this case very seriously. They're continuing their investigation. The chief held it a little bit close to the vest in terms of what he had learned so far, did indicate that at least one of the people that was hurt has been less than cooperative, or at least you kind of got that sense. I don't know whether that person knew the shooters or had some involvement, but
well, I don't even know if it's just one. I mean,
right,
it was clear that there were some people that they were interviewing that didn't really want to cooperate. And we're going to continue to follow this, of course, and the news room will as well. But that's what we learned last night. It was not targeted to a particular faith. That there was a fight that broke out, and eight people ended up being injured. 2 of them killed, 3 of them, actually 5 still in the hospital, 1 that was in the hospital and then released, but the chief said that they were non-life-threatening injuries.
Yeah, which is better than we heard last night, which was that 3 were critical, 2 deceased, which is, it doesn't get much worse than that, and 5 that may survive, it sounds like.
All right, so that's what we learned about that. And look, I have to mention a little bit more about the food issue. I have a friend who's a chef who texted me, and he said he thought that the biggest issue under Michelle Obama was they went to processed foods. That was not what she recommended, but that was his understanding. And he reminds me that eating locally doesn't work. We need to focus on real foods, which is right, I think what I was trying to say, right? But what is real food? Something you grow, something close to you, like not heavily processed. But we also had a texter who said, when did they take chicken and fish out of the recommendations for protein? They didn't. There's
we talked about red meat more than
we talked about red meat, right. But also the combination of rice and beans. But there's also chicken and fish, and there's pork. If you are somebody who eats pork, right? Remember, there used to be a whole campaign about pork, about the other white meat, because there's lean pork also.
Right.
And there's high-fat fish also. Salmon, I think, is one of those.
So the
and
diagram,
I don't eat fish because I hate it. Ugh.
Oh, I love fish. I love all kinds of fish, and my wife cooks it a lot. The pyramid that you showed me is an absolute 180-degree flip from the pyramid that I grew up with in school.
It's so different. In fact, I was looking at a story in USA Today that showed from 92 to 2005, we have the pyramid with bread at the base, right? And then 2005 to 2011, there's a pyramid with different things that go angle up to the top. In 2011 to 2026, then there's the plate, choose my plate. You're supposed to be heavy on the vegetables and the grains and less on the fruit and the protein, and only a tiny bit on dairy. And then in 2026, it's a complete upside down pyramid to the 1992 one. So
bread's still at the base, but the base is now the tip.
The base is now the tip. It's just been flipped upside down.
Upside down pyramid.
Okay,
right.
So basically, eat healthy, folks. Eat healthy.
And bringing healthy foods into our schools is a priority, I think, for this administration. It makes a lot of sense. It was something you said that was introduced by Michelle Obama some time ago, and maybe we're revisiting some of the ideas.
Just revisiting and getting away from the heavy processed foods. But look, I look at my daughter's stuff that they have in their schools, and they have apples, and they have oranges, and they have other fruit offerings. They have lots of vegetable offerings, and I would say they don't have as many processed foods certainly as I did when I was in school. All right, look. Today, Californians, this is not a fun fact, this is a serious fact, but Californians are still working to rebuild after some of the worst wildfires in U.S. history hit the area about a year ago. Here's more from Good Morning America on the impact still hitting California today.
1 year ago, the Eaton fire wiping away more than 9,000 structures, leaving a trail of destruction across Altadena.
The whole neighborhood is gone. I don't know how we're going to come back from this.
With the uncertainty of insurance payouts, community organizer Zaire Calvin has been on the front lines. He's also the brother of Evelyn McClendon, one of the 19 lives lost in the Eaton fire.
On the west side of Altadena, we literally saved ourselves. There was not help. There were no alerts. The system failed. We didn't have water to put the fire out. When the firefighters were running around, that was one of the complaints is we don't have water.
Displaced residents demanding compensation from SoCal Edison. Although an official cause has yet to be determined, the utility company has said that there is a possible connection to their equipment.
It is painful to think that our equipment may have been involved. We still don't quite know what happened.
Another stark reality, those that have homes still standing, but they're uninhabitable, like the Lombardis, whose property tested positive for high-level toxins like lead.
I came home to try to get some things put away, and I got a migraine for 3 days. Lead cannot be 100% cleaned. Kids absorb the lead twice as fast as adults do.
The family of five's home looks exactly as they left it last year. Dishes still sitting in the sink.
The invisibleness of contaminants that are in the house and the uphill battle of trying to convince the insurance company that these things are present and they are dangerous for our family.
How quickly we forget about that. It was a year ago.
Yeah.
A year ago right now, one of the worst wildfires in U.S. history, and it was frightening. I mean, there were lives in jeopardy during a lot of that. It was really and you know, I guess I don't understand how you equate lead to the fire. If that was
a good question.
I mean,
That's a good question. I hadn't realized that they were talking about the utility company somehow being liable, because I know that was one of the issues in the Hawaii fire, the Lahaina fire, right? That it was faulty or old electrical equipment, and there was a spark, and then things just went up, right? So
that it was overused, I think, in California, that it just couldn't handle the grid. It couldn't handle what was going on, and it finally just gave out, and like you say, may have sparked. Of course, the utility company, nobody knows how the fire actually started.
All right, well, so that's one note on this day. So today is the War on Poverty Day. It's so as a day on the calendar, it really is recognizing that in 1964, which was the year I was born, at the end of the year, it was enacted by President Lyndon B. Johnson as a response to the rising poverty rates in the country at the time. And there were a lot of initiatives proposed by Johnson's administration and passed by Congress looking at expanding economic opportunity through what they called anti-poverty bills, health, education, employment, et cetera. But we still... I don't know if we've made that much progress in the war on poverty. It's still an issue.
Yeah, and you wonder what the minimum wage was, or if they tweaked the minimum wage back then, because we haven't had a change in that, although a lot of employers are really fighting that still, even though our minimum wage is definitely well within the poverty range.
Yeah, and it's something that has been, I don't think it's changed in a really long time, at least not nationally. So on this day also in 1790, George Washington gave the nation's very first State of the Union address, January 8th, 1790. And speaking of that, I just saw that President Trump will be giving the latest State of the Union address in February. I think I saw February 24th. He'll address the nation.
It seems like George Washington was really active, because we have a George Washington feat of the day about once a week. He was rocking and rolling this time of year.
Yeah, exactly, this time of year. Another interesting, I think, fact of the day is that on this day in 1835, the U.S. national debt reached $0 for the first and only time. U.S. national debt, zero in 1835. So if you look today, there's like the national debt clock. And what are we, trillions, right?
Yeah, we're into the 30 trillions, I think.
National debt clock, real time, says that we are currently $38 trillion in debt, and it just goes up very rapidly, right?
Go up, and the one big beautiful bill promised to boost it a little bit more, although they think that it's going to have some ramifications that'll help.
1835, I don't know that we're going to be able to get back there.
No, not in our lifetimes.
All right. Well, look, on this day in 2011, so it's been 15 years, Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was shot in the head during an outdoor meeting with her constituents. So that's an important anniversary to remember as well.
Yeah, it really is. Well, that's it for today with Inside Sources. We're going to turn things over to Midday with Maria Chaleos next. She's following the latest details on the police search for suspects involved in that deadly shooting last night that we talked about.